And I believe we are live. Okay, yeah, we are live. So welcome everyone. Very cool to progress on these topics that we've been sitting together for 5 days, really starting the new year's with this momentum. Welcoming the new energy. I have been told by some members in our community that knows a lot about astrologies and like how the planets are aligning. Seemingly that yeah, there's a lot of momentum of the new year, but also there could be this pent up frustration and maybe could be angry. Just kind of reflecting, contextualizing our situation, planning for the new moves that we'll be making this year. But sometimes that could also mean that to reflect on what has previously, maybe we haven't done a good job, or we really need to consider stepping up our game, or we really need to hold ourselves to a new standard. So a lot of these things could make us feel unsettled, but that unsettlement could also then be used, this equilibrium could then be used to really reflect and be critical about our journey here. And I do think that set up a very thorough kind of reflection review that Adrian, I think your presentation, especially in the topic, is really like a reflecting a mirror, right? Which is like require a lot of honesty, requires a lot of maturity to see this question about are we mature? Yeah. In which way are we not mature? Instead of trying to prove that, oh, I'm very mature, like I'm very well developed and yada yada yada, maybe it's a much better kind of frame to go in and say, okay, which part is I'm not very good at yet, and then could use this space to reflect and improve on ourselves. Yeah. And I do also believe that because of two reasons that this presentation and this topic is particularly very interesting and important for our audience here. Number one, because of the spiritual aspect of how much bypassing and underrepresented the topic of individuation. Because a lot of time we have seen that, okay, maybe we still have money issues, maybe we still have a lack of meaning, maybe we don't know our mission, and so on and so forth. And we're just wanting to bypass that by so-called spiritual gains or the spiritual path to not even starting the path of individuation. That's one point. And point number two is that although we deeply appreciate and shout out to the three women that follow CC regularly, 97, 95% of our audience are males. Right. So that's just the situation of CC. So I think the topic of masculinity, what it means to uh, so-called be a man, could be very interesting and highly relevant to our audience. Yeah. And I think Adrian has spent a lot of time, not just in CC, but I would say that it's an ongoing cultivation through the many endeavors that you have participated in. Maybe I only know a little bit of it. So maybe for the audience members who haven't known about your story yet, can you introduce and kind of like catch us up to what's going on and how do we arrive at this moment? Oh, side note, Frank also has taped an interview with Adrian, but I think that's to be released soon, Frank. You're on mute.
Yeah, that's gonna be in a while. My next interview is gonna be with Jace. That's gonna be on my channel in about 2 weeks. But we get to the Adrian one. Me and Adrian share very similar paths too. When I first saw him self-interviewing for the CC cohort 6, I was like, this guy's got the DNA for CC. Yeah, because he started out also as an athlete. Already has an interview out with you on the CC channel. You guys can check that out.
Yeah, a quick one. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he started out as an athlete and became a coach. He actually worked for the Wizards, right? Or like you worked with some pretty famous NBA athletes.
Yeah, that was
Um,
sort of the pinnacle. Yeah, did some work with the
yeah,
Washington
the
Wizards
pinnacle of the
NBA
yeah,
team.
Washington Wizards. That's cool. Yeah, I live in DC, so I guess Wizards is my team, but I don't never like the Wizards.
Are they good? I know nothing about NBA.
Wizards. When I was watching NBA a lot, Wizards was shit. But then Michael Jordan actually joined the Wizards after his third retirement, so that was pretty big news. Yeah, he was like
Oh,
40. Yeah. But a lot of people don't even know that. Yeah, he came to the Wizard because he was one of the owners. I don't know if he's the owner when Adrian was there, but that was the story of Michael Jordan, the Wizards. But then Adrian then started to experiment with psychedelics and then found his way to pragmatic Dharma, Daniel Ingram, all the standard stuff that I used to talk about, the curriculum, uh,
mm,
TMI, Kundalini Awakening, cessations, all that stuff. And
Yeah,
then
and I think with whatever
yeah,
Adrian does, you also go really deep with it because I think like you even
yeah.
like approach and have an interview with Xinjiang Yang and like you really go
Oh, right,
to
right, right.
you go the distance when you go into something. Yeah, just not like
Yeah,
kind of like
get a podcast.
superficially yeah, shopping around. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the hallmarks of the people that really stick around CC. So we just go all in. It's just like observing a cycle sensation, till its end. We see that we see to its end, whatever endeavor that we partake in. Yeah, and I think that's really important for spiritual journey. And
Yeah,
I
and
think
Tyson's
Adrian
here,
was,
Adrian's here, and shout out Tyson's Adrian together is running a new branch of exertion like we were talking about yesterday. So right now in CC there is an in between the two boot camps, but we're still training. We're still physically training pretty much. And Adrian
yeah.
and Tyson shared out workout of the day. They spend a lot of time in how to prep this physical vehicle, this body, so that we have enough of the exertion juice to be spent in the 90 days period.
Mm. Yeah. I think Adrian, one of the most interesting thing you talked about was stepping away from fitness because
Hmm.
to disentangle the identity. But then after you joined CC, you kind of found your love for the game in terms of like training people, start training people within groups, and now you're gonna run your parallel cohort with Tyson's. Because a lot of people do ask, "Oh, I'm gonna lose interest in this or that," but how do you reintegrate like our passion and our that aligns with our disposition, yeah. And close that loop, karma and dharma. Yeah.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Appreciate the intro and the shout outs. Um, I can just jump on the slide if it's okay. I have
Yeah,
some stuff I can just
yes,
tie it
sir.
into the intro. Let's see, share.
Oh, look at us. Today is most likely going to be a boys' talk on the boys.
Can you guys see that or my notes here?
I see your note as well, but I do see the thing behind the note, which is reclaiming your kingdom.
Yeah. Is there a way so I don't block it with my notes? How does that work?
I think it maybe could be something like a presenter view or something like that.
There we go.
And right now I'm just seeing the trajectory to CC on the
Cool.
slide.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, okay. Where to start? So I guess I can start with just like current situation, life. So I'm a CC mentor. I work as a therapist, counselor. So I was trained in existential psychotherapy. I also blend a lot of other modalities. Big fan of Jungian psychology. So there's a lot of sort of shadow work and like archetypal work, somatic body-based therapy as well. Yeah, so that's sort of like a part-time thing. Also a dad, so I'd say that's like my main job. So like a lot of time, responsibility, father of two boys, a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old son. I'm married. I live in a rural part of Ontario, like an hour north of Toronto. So yeah, that's kind of like the current conditions of life at the moment. And I kind of wanted to, yeah, just take everybody on a bit of a journey, my trajectory, like before CC, just to give some context of where I come from and maybe make sense of the topic as a whole. So for me, yeah, I guess boyhood, pretty ordinary kid. Honestly, I not a lot to like share in terms of things that stood out. Like a very average kind of childhood, pretty active, climbed trees, just enjoyed being active, but I would say didn't have a
Oh,
ton of like,
hey, Adrian, the
yeah.
slide just disappeared.
Oh,
Maybe you just accidentally close it, I think.
mm, try again.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Is it there? Yeah.
But it's only showing like the maybe missing the third half, the lower third half. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There we go. Yeah.
Is it better?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, Cool. Yeah, I was just saying like pretty average childhood. Not a ton of like whatever. Nothing stood out in terms of like what I was really into. Comic books, Dragon Ball Z, Power Rangers, toys. I would say like one of the key like defining moments was 96 Olympics. So Donovan Bailey was a Canadian sprinter. And I remember like sitting in front of the TV, like that did something to me. Like suddenly my trajectory just like changed because I watched him run live and he set a new record to be the fastest man ever. And just that look, like this picture there kind of captured his expression, mouth open, just the way he moved. Like it's something inside kind of it lit a fire or something. Um, if I can remember, it was simply just like I want to run like him. Like that's all I knew, right? I didn't know how to run. I wasn't even didn't consider myself particularly gifted. But I remember the next day, like going outside and just trying to mimic, right? Just like purely out of interest or inspiration. And I would say my interest or pull to athletics started here, like this moment. And yeah, just started to really get curious about how to get faster, train the body, watch, athletics more. And so that kind of takes me into teenage years where sports was like my life, just really obsessed with basketball and track and field were kind of my two loves. Wanting to dunk. I remember as a teen, that was like the main obsession. Reading magazines, like ways to train, how to jump higher. I think Vince Carter at the time also was basically, you know, the one of the biggest stars in the NBA, and I was from Toronto, so it was really easy to get pulled into the hype, of dunking, just as like a culture. And I had a group of friends that we would all do the stuff together, like train, do plyometrics and calf raises and whatever. So there's a picture of me dunking there, and I think grade 10 or 11 or something. And another moment was in the newspaper, like after one of the track and field meets, I saw my picture. I was like, holy shit, that was like crazy, just to see a photo in the Toronto Star, one of the major newspapers. And I remember the next day, somehow this paper was spotted by like a teacher and like everyone knew. It just like circulated. So again, like another trajectory, like another shift. Suddenly, like whatever, people came up to me, like I always kind of flew under the radar. I didn't really want to be, I prefer to be in the background, that kind of thing, more introverted. And suddenly it's like I was invited to like clubs and pushed to take on more leadership stuff. And I think that started to really pull me, out of my shell, like another catalyst. So into my 20s, I decided to pursue sports science. So I studied kinesiology, exercise science, and I competed with the university. And yeah, it's all through undergrad as a competitive athlete. And when I finished, I basically just wanted to continue, but I knew I didn't want to still compete. So the next obvious thing was be a trainer and slash therapist, like just helping people with rehab and injury. And so that pretty much, I wouldn't say all my 20s, but I guess, yeah, majority of my early adulthood was being obsessed with, uh, you know, being the best that I could be, at least in that field. And as Frank mentioned, I guess one of the sort of pinnacles of that part of my career was getting to work with the Wizards. One of the summers was pretty cool. Just as a fan of the NBA and basketball, that moment was surreal. Like stepping into the arena and the gym and just like there's an NBA player, had to play it cool and just be professional. But deep down, there's like that inner kid was super excited. Um, and so all that to just bring us to like 2015 basically is when I guess my spiritual journey started. So in 2015, I would say at least three things I could now kind of in hindsight identify were like key catalysts for me leaving the industry and decided to like go on a path. The first one being I had an incident with a client where I was rehabbing her hip, but I accidentally dislocated her prosthetic hip. So she already had a prosthetic hip, and there's certain positions that are more at risk of like the joint popping out. And basically, just in the heat of whatever, trying to get something done, like do a maneuver, made a mistake. And that pretty much shattered me. I think that was the beginning of like, oh, okay, pulling into shame, a lot of professional shame and doubt, self-doubt of like my ability, the modality, the skills, all that stuff.
Mm.
The number,
Would
the
you
second,
say
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. We are just asking, and I'm curious. Would you say that is a type of defeatism that was very hard for you to deal with at the moment? Kind of like
Oh,
a,
totally.
yeah, I see. I
Yeah.
see. Yeah, collapse
I
of
think
will. Yeah.
yeah, I think there was like not knowingly there was a lot of like social kind of reputational capital or whatever like I was trying to preserve. And like suddenly it's like, oh, this is like not okay. Like this feels really, really uncomfortable suddenly. I was supposed to, be some sort of a leader. I was, teaching, had a sort of teaching position. And yeah, like there's a big part of me that wanted to kind of start pulling away, retreating, like just get out of the limelight kind of thing. And number two was I was gonna have a partnered position to launch a new business, a new gym, and kind of the final innings of it, the it didn't go through. They pulled out, so that was another hit too. It was like, okay, this is all happening really close together. And then the third would be there was also an underlying like increasing sense of dissatisfaction with just the conventional life. Like everything on paper was fine. It wasn't that, catastrophic, but I could feel the lack of, happiness, fulfillment, like dissatisfactoriness of dukkha, that recognition, I guess, started. Um, so what ended up happening was I decided to take a sabbatical, but it was fully leaving. I didn't know at the time, but I ended up not going back, taking time off. So I read Waking Up by Sam Harris. That was an important book because I think in there I got curious about meditation and I think psychedelics too. I think in there was something about just like using it as a way to, you know, for sort of therapeutic purposes, exploration of consciousness. That was all new to me. So obviously I started to, learn more about the resurgence of psychedelic use, like in the sort of therapy space. And someone pointed me to Headspace, so I started meditating as well, just like my beginning practice. I ended up doing an ayahuasca retreat. That was actually my first psychedelic experience. Um, yeah, I don't know. It was mind blowing. Like I had a mystical experience for someone that was quite materialistic, kind of scientific, rational thinker. Didn't know where to put these experiences. Had no categories for it, so that just blew my mind. Um, and I guess that's the hardcore kind of the tendency to go all in into things. Like that's what propelled me into practice more. Like, okay, I need to find ways to cultivate or explore these territories and not need to keep relying on, substances. Although I did, experiment quite a bit for a period. Like Vipassana, I think the retreat was another turning point, just when practice wasn't just like a thing I was dabbling. Like I think I want to go further. Shinzen was, I think, one of my first, I guess, teachers that I could really kind of resonate with. Like the way he was communicating the Dharma and practice just kind of fit the mental model at the time. So that was a big kind of beacon. And then Daniel Ingram, and I think that was the point where I realized it was about enlightenment. Like that's what I was really drawn to. It wasn't just chasing states anymore. It wasn't just about, having cool experiences or even therapy. Like I didn't actually think that was the reason. It was like, okay, like it's doable. Like finally the notion of like you can actually do these things um and gain insight. And it's another yeah, key moment for me was in 2017 I went back to school to get trained in therapy, psychotherapy, and in the same year I had like a Kundalini awakening. And I think that's basically where there was a big kind of like letting go of the intellect moment. It was like this body started to do things energetically that was like out of my control. And so there was a further kind of surrender happening and leaning into the mystery. Like there's things just beyond my understanding. Um, During COVID, I did a series of retreats with Daniel Brown. He's like a Dzogchen teacher. He's passed away now, but in those retreats was yeah there were that's I think that's when non-duality really started to dawn. I had sort of glimpses of experience, and yeah, it was like getting weird now because at this point I didn't know what I was looking for. Like when he passed, it was like I don't have this group anymore, this teacher. I was kind of like left on my own. I fell into Angelo on a podcast, and I ended up ordering his book. I was reading through some of the stuff, and I think self-inquiry was like a missing link at that moment because I don't think I was really introduced to it. And it was through that that I think there were, yeah, seeing into no self. Um, yeah, a lot of it literally is just me. I was a young dad at the time, so I had I think my first son. A lot of times holding my son during nap time in the dark, like that was my practice, like holding him in a rocking chair and doing self inquiry. And like that year was a lot of I guess yeah, insight or realization while just kind of always in this mode of spontaneously inquiring about experience, like just looking closely at experience. Um, and that kind of brings me to 2025, where I think at this point, I feel like I had given up on seeking. Like it was no longer the same type of pull or interest. Almost kind of turn away from like the online, non-duality and spirituality. But the algos put the CC podcast, on my feed, and I listened, and it was like listening to Taylor Frank Khan talk, and it was well, not so much what they were saying, but it was like feeling into something they were kind of hinting at. It was kind of cryptic. So there was something mysterious. I think it was about transmission as well, interested in what that was referring to. Um, that's what pulled me into the boot camp. And so that kind of was, yeah, my arrival into CC was okay. Like I didn't know what I was looking for at this moment on the path, but it was certainly there was a curiosity and the relational aspect. Like I think I was craving relationship and not just being on a solo journey. Um, yeah, so I joined Bootcamp 6. We just did 7, and this is where the the dissertation came out of was the recent bootcamp that we just finished. Should I pause here or continue? What do you think?
Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah, I think maybe a lot of people can also relate with this kind of trajectories. I think Tyson also yesterday sharing about starting with a starting condition of perhaps very scientific and materialistic kind of background, but then having an experience that you cannot categorize within existing models of reality, and that kind of propel you to re-examine what you know, what is true. I think there's also this interesting renunciative kind of momentum that's going on with you as well, Adrian, because you were seeing that there was a couple moments when the dream did happen, like the wizard, the training, or even in high school or something. I'm like, oh, suddenly I'm just being carried by this momentum. Like life got better and better in a lot of ways, but also there is this kind of moments of when the new business fell through or the incident with the client that kind of like cause enough disturbance for you to reconsider your patterns and things like that. Because yeah, maybe in a lot of ways that if the success never had any hiccup, there would be no cause to re-examine, and to kind of alter and course correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, and to be honest, like I think even this topic of masculinity, there's like this part of me that doesn't really want to fully own it. Even choosing this topic, it was weird in that I don't think I chose it. Like it did feel like I had to write it. Like it had to be written instead of like, oh, I'm so passionate about this topic. And
Yeah,
um
yeah,
why I
yeah,
bring it up is because and I've done some reflecting too, right? Like if I there's like a through line, even as a kid, I've always kind of naturally driven, aggressive, had these sort of masculine traits. I was always a reluctant leader. I sort of fell into leadership positions, but didn't really want it. Always had this kind of slight like holding at a distance, not fully wanting to own masculinity. And in one of my, I think last class for my psychotherapy school, a common feedback I heard from peers was, yeah, like you seem to embody the mature masculine. And I didn't, I almost felt uncomfortable with that label. I was like, I don't know what that meant, like, so it's interesting to just recognize there's like a discomfort, with the topic. I think with even wanting to highlight differences between masculine, feminine, the poles. I think there's something about that too. You know, came forward when I was doing this dissertation,
yeah.
and
Uh, Yeah, I think your approach to it is very interesting because we do have people within CC that explicitly like, okay, I'm doing man's work and like
Hmm.
I'm explicitly there is this traditions, there's this lineage of all these teachers, and in some ways, of course, that could provide a systematic training and maybe a very structure. But I think you just kind of similar to John, you kind of like stumble upon this journey that you didn't really have a reference while you were going through it, but looking back, there is a through line. Or similar to Tyson, in some ways, like, oh, I have to put this out in some reluctant manners, and only connecting the dots, looking backward.
Yeah, definitely. Like, yeah, if you told me like, oh, well, you should lead some men's workshops, like it's like, no, I'm not interested. Like it's something about that. Yeah, doesn't feel right. But
Yeah,
writing this was like something very, very alive for me throughout the boot camp, and I'll talk about specifically what was happening.
yeah,
Um, yeah. So for me, this dissertation, I was really wanting to kind of combine it with this Jungian archetypal framework, like using that lens to try to understand some of these components of masculinity, because it's not one thing, right? There's sort of aspects to it, but also weaving, yeah, some personal experiences, um, and ultimately, I think it's addressing like a bigger problem, right? It's a modern crisis, if you will, of I call it like the uninitiated male man, but it's also just male energy, like repressed male energy. And you can see that even in women, so it's not just isolated to men, but because like you mentioned, a lot of CC is predominantly males, I think I did want to write it just, to kind of focus in on men specifically. Um, yeah, so just to kind of start things off, I wanted to zoom out and yeah, really point at this larger problem where we do seem to be living in a modern age where a lot of even our institutions are led by what can be called a shadow kings. So they're not really leaders. They're essentially boys pretending to be men. So they sort of struggle to fully mature, psychologically. And a lot of this has to do with because our natural predispositions towards like aggression, violence, lust, these are often shamed, as being toxic. And so I think already we have kids that are kind of very early on kind of learning, receiving messaging that, oh, don't get into fights, don't be violent. And then you're having to reconcile with what can be just biological or natural forces. And so it leads to a lot of men basically masking or suppressing a lot of natural instinct or impulse. So some people point the cause to essentially a loss of initiation or rituals that at least traditionally have helped support boys consciously transition to become men. And yeah, another term I guess I kind of borrowed is this idea of Peter Pan syndrome, right? Where today we have a lot of men who essentially are clinging to their childhood in a way, right? And it manifests as avoiding responsibilities of adulthood, like committing to long-term relationship or maintaining, employment. Um, we see it in the mental health space. There's certain higher rates than in men than women. Things like substance use, porn addiction, suicide, um, anxiety, depression. So yeah, I guess from this context, it probably comes as no surprise that the men who are coming into CC all carry the shared karma, shared baggage to work through. And so the lens I decided to work with is this sort of four male archetype model that was presented by Moore and Gillette. They had a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. So these four archetypes, they're not the only ones, but I think it's a pretty all-encompassing, sort of robust way to at least begin looking at ourselves, looking at these energies. Um, the central thesis is that the male psyche is not a singular self, but a dynamic system, of different archetypal energies that need to be accessed, balanced, and integrated. The problem is when they're underdeveloped or not owned, a man is basically trapped in boy psychology. So immaturity, maybe overly reactive, avoid responsibility, that sort of stuff. And when fully mature, or at least their shadow aspects are owned, he can become whole, generative, capable of stable, mature presence. So I'll start with the king archetype, mostly because this is the one I think for me in this boot camp was the most dominant one, the one that I was, really starting to recognize and access in a visceral way. So the king is considered the central archetype. It's the one where all the rest of the psyche seems to organize around. You can think of it as the CEO that sort of balances out the other archetypes. So when a man can't access the king, he's chronically uncentered, tends to give away authority. So this might show up as sort of a weakling type figure, or he abuses uh, his authority, his power. So a tyrant. So when it is online, it can provide like a centering sense of I am enough and I belong in the throne of my life. And that's basically what the king, conscious king, can arrive at. Um, in a lot of different traditions, it's often symbolizes order, the king providing blessing and fertility to its land, and also, yeah, just sort of this righteous governance, essentially harmony, right? So the king brings harmony to the kingdom. So this is not just externally in the world, but the inner world, that your psyche. It's also typically the last one to come online. So requiring the other ones like the warrior, magician, lover to reach a reasonable amount of maturity before this can be accessed. So I wanted to share like a personal experience I had, which I call the Lion King transmission. This happened in 2017. I was in school in psychotherapy training, and I remember, yeah, it was an interesting weekend because we just come off of a holotropic breath work. I think it was. It was a breath work workshop. So we did some partnered breath work stuff, and I think that day there was quite a bit of like birth trauma content came up. Like I had just like suddenly like flashes of like my birth experience, and I didn't know what to do with it. But during the integration period, I just had this instinct to like watch Lion King. I don't know why, but I went with it. So that weekend, I went and watched. It wasn't the original Lion King, but it was like the new CGI, like new remade version in the theater, and I sobbed for like I don't know 60% of the movie. It was so, and that shocked me. It was like I knew the plot, I knew the story, but for some reason, there was like a transmission, a remembrance, like the particularly Simba's journey. I think something about him denying his kingship, going into exile, and like trying to run away, hide in shame, like all of that stuff. And then finally his remembrance, like meeting his dad and Rafiki, kind of, mediating the whole spiritual experience. It just like resonated at such a visceral level. I mean, at the time, I didn't even know what to make of it. Um, like it's like, what do I do with this? I'm not a king in the world. I don't, I'm not, like, I didn't know how to make sense of this experience, but I knew something physically, energetically was happening. And yeah, despite my middle name being King, like that was the only thing. I was like, that is actually my middle name, but I was like, there's no other things in my conventional life I could point to. So I didn't know at the time it would take me 7 years, I think, to fully close a loop, if you will, for this experience. So the 7 years later was boot camp 7. I was in cohort A for the advanced relating group, and yeah, we have this practice where because we're a small group, we get to take turns being in the hot seat and have the rest of the group kind of ruthlessly, compassionately provide feedback. And for me, the one of the key feedbacks I received was, I tend to have quite a bit of masculine energy, but I also tend to shy away and repress it. So the moment that was pointed out to me, I kind of equally surprised, but also like I knew exactly what was being pointed to at the same time. And I think the easiest way to tie this is like using the Mamba mentality, like Kobe Bryant's, sort of popularized term. I knew that I've always carried this thing. You can call it the Mamba mentality. It's like this innate competitiveness, confidence, almost like a murderous drive at times. Like just when the conditions are ripe, it's like you could kill, you could this killer instinct and wanting to excel. But yeah, for not for whatever reason, but at the time I didn't know why I was pushing it away. But then I remembered the hip incident. Like back to the so this picture here on the left, I was teaching a hip mechanics class, like biomechanics for the hip joint. And I think it happened like a few weeks after this. Like that's part of the shame is like I'm supposed to be an expert. I know these things. And then I go and dislocate a lady's hip. So yeah, that was my moment of shame. Like Simba thinking he killed his dad, like he ran away. Like he ran into the jungle. Um, I think that was me also just actively wanting to suppress or destroy my confidence. I thought it was a problem, just kind of framing the ego and masculinity, I guess, broadly speaking, as an issue. And then I saw spirituality almost as like the cure, the medicine. Like, oh, if we can deconstruct the ego and transcend the self, then I'll be free of this thing. It won't get me into trouble. And yeah, the yeah. So the second archetype I wanted to touch on is the warrior archetype. So here, the warrior energy is we can think of it as embodied discipline aggression. So being able to set clear boundaries, courage, being able to exercise discernment, and also ties to service to a greater purpose. So when a man has access to the warrior, he can choose to fight the right battles. He can protect the vulnerable, endure pain, and destroy what needs to be destroyed. When it's not mature or it's in its immature form, you can think of it as like the grandiose hero. Um, yeah, the perpetual kind of hero figure, or yeah, when it's deficient, just being passive, passivity or not being able to having like repressed rage. So in contemporary culture, I think a lot of men are either warrior deficient or trapped in that immature hero archetype. Um, I had a chat with Adam. Shout out Adam, who's here live with us. I think yeah, he was an interesting person to talk to, given his background. Ex-U.S. Marine, MMA fighter, father. So yeah, just we talked a lot about yeah this archetype in particular and kind of what separates like a wannabe warrior and a true warrior. And I thought it was interesting for him. He said, a lot of it comes down to having a sort of like respect, like a healthy respect for violence, and that only comes if you've actually experienced like defeat, in a real way. So yeah, even though he's trained to become a really good fighter, like it's from his experience of also just knowing uh, the consequences of that power, on the receiving end. To you start developing like a real what's the word? I imagine it's almost like you have this like childhood idea of what it's like to go to war, and then you actually go to war, and then you come back, right? So that you go through this sort of initiation, if you will. The next archetype to touch on here is the magician. I think I think in CC, yeah, I figure this is the one that's quite common. Like it's usually pretty well integrated because just given those of us who are naturally selected, interested in Dharma practice, uh, even yeah, like alternative approaches, it usually means yeah, that's the magician who gives us access to intuition, um, being able to access hidden knowledge, reflect deeply, being able to bridge the seen and the unseen worlds, and often yeah, being able to kind of facilitate transformative experiences. Now, what I do see too is like a common pitfall within spiritual communities, but also we see it in CC is sometimes we over rely on our yogic talent, right? Our ability to get into absorptive states and use our kind of jhanic, abilities to bypass uncomfortable emotions and avoiding, yeah, certain types of relating, right? Basically being able to relate in vulnerable ways. Yeah, I obviously fall into this trap myself, but also it's just a common thing that we tend to see. the lover, the lover archetype. So Carl Jung, basically, I think he said essentially this is one of the keys to individuating, like for men, because the lover is essentially being able to access the inner feminine, right? So it's being able to access compassion or passion, sensuality, empathy, eros, emotional intimacy, these sorts of things. So the inner feminine, and not being able to do that is what can often lead to things like being shut down emotionally, idealizing women, like you're chasing kind of these projections that you have in your mind. For me, I think for many years, even when I was working in therapy, I could tell there was a tendency to be really drawn to like the damsel in distress, like women who are in that sort of victimhood, like the wounded feminine. And I now have had time to kind of understand it. It's like, okay, it activates this part of me that kind of fantasizes being a rescuer, being a hero, right? Being Superman, being able to be the knight in shining armor to rescue. And so that dynamic, when it's unconscious, we often see this pairing of like needy partners, right? So for me, it's my marriage. I see that dynamic play out, but also in clients, the types of people that come through my practice. Um, and so the antidote to this is basically owning your emotions, right? Owning the totality of it, especially the unwelcome ones like sadness, unworthiness. And I can say that, yeah, this is definitely, I can tell that there's a lot less of this projection, just even women coming through my practice, I can tell, oh, there's a lot less of that immediate like pull to like save and be the hero or protector. And then in my marriage as well, like just I can allow my wife to be in pain and not have to immediately jump in and rescue. Because that pattern of wanting to just, dive right in, I think, yeah, often leads to it's unsustainable because it leads to burnout and resentment. Um, yeah, and that's sort of a clue, of the shadow side of the lover. So the beast, I spent quite a bit of time writing about because it's not included in the four archetype model, but I think I think this is the one that I believe most men unconsciously are seeking to tap into, um, given our conditioning, like I was sharing about at the collective level of how much we're repressed. So you can think of the beast, sometimes called the wild man, the deep male. It's the primal animal layer of the psyche. It represents one of the more sort of most confronting and transformative dimensions of men's work. Um, for me in 2019, I think it was, I went to a men's retreat. This was for me when I accessed the beast. I think this was yeah, it was a night where the theme was around accessing repressed anger. And I think I was in a group of 12 men, and it was my term to step up. I basically asked the group, like, can I show you my energetic like Kundalini stuff? Because at the time it was like very active. I didn't have a lot of story. I didn't have a lot of content to share what I was feeling because it was just this like raw kind of explosive energy. And it seemed like that's what was required. I needed a container and to have men be able to witness and hold that space. So what happened was the facilitator just stood in front of me and allowed me to start kind of unraveling, showing how much, charge there was. And he invited me to dig in deep. He said, kind of like, can you ground the energy first, but then also feel if there's anything deep in there that wants to come forward. I didn't know what I was looking for, but I looked, and in an instant, my legs started sprinting towards him. It was like this moment of like complete, like total loss of volition. So my whole body just sprinted right to him, like nose to nose, and I screamed in his face. And then I stumbled back, like in shock, because I didn't know where it came from. And he was just like super, steady. He didn't move, didn't blink, and he said again, like one more rep. Went in, dug in, and same thing, this like uprising of energy. And then I sprinted again, screamed, and at that point, I think I was guided to just stay present, like just basically open up my awareness to feel the entirety of the space. And I could feel it's almost like an atom bomb went off. Like it was an expansion of, I don't know, presence, aliveness. It almost, the thought did cross my mind at the time. Like if a bear came up, because we were in the woods somewhere in the cabins, like it would run away. Like this type of energy could destroy like anything. Like I never felt something like that. And then I think like 3 or 4 seconds of feeling the power of it, I just collapsed and just sobbed and just wept. And it was a big catharsis. And now looking back, it was like, oh, that like to me, that was the beast. It was like being able to unlock something that I had not been able to touch into. And so, yeah, in a way, I was tying this to the other four because I think the beast can enliven all the other archetypes. For example, the king without the beast is like a weakling or a tyrant. So all crown, no balls. The beast with his authority, the king's power can be felt by everyone in the room. Essentially, yeah, you can sense the primal power behind his words. The magician with the beast can channel primal energy into ritual. Think of like shamanic practice, transformative, um, yeah, acts. And the warrior, right, can access their aggression, their ferocity, with a sort of precision that they can calm as soon as the threat is resolved, right? So you don't over scope. And for the lover, yeah, the integrated kind of lover beast is being able to tap into this sort of raw animalistic passion, be fierce yet tender, right, without disassociating. And lastly, yeah, I did want to touch on the sage. Also not, yeah, part of the classic four, but the sage basically archetypally represents the culmination of like the maturation process, right? The wise old man, um, being able to transmute wisdom, like turning challenges into wisdom. Um, yeah, I did want to share a story. I just remembered this morning, so I added this in my notes. There was a night, or not a night, there was a therapy session where I had a vision of a Taoist sage. It was very vivid, so I didn't know what to do with it. But it was an old man, Asian looking, and he was carrying a stick with a bag, and he opened the bag, and there was like a crystal. And the moment I could see the crystal, my hips started shaking. Like it was just like something happened. I bring this up because a few years later, two years later, I was interviewing somebody on my podcast, and this was a psychologist. He was like a professor in some school, transpersonal psychology. He was telling me the same vision. Like in the podcast, he was telling me about something about ascendant masters and sages, and he's like, "Oh, I had this experience," and like to the T, like the exact like transmission, the crystal, his body started shaking. I almost fell off my seat. Like I think when I remembered this morning, it was just like these archetypes, like in a way, it's like they're not you. It's like there's a sort of collective component. It's like in this case, it's like a shared
Quality.
energy. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the shared intelligence. Um, yeah, and I think it's important not to also over reify them into actual things, but they are powerful. Like you cannot deny like the function. For me personally, a lot of these integration of these archetypes has been more of like remembrance than they are some sort of like acquiring some skill. It's like it's almost like you actually just start yoking into these energies. You start remembering and be able to access what they have to offer. But ultimately, I think we have to do the job of invalidation, seeing the emptiness. So to close off, yeah, I'd say reclaiming your kingdom for me meant like Simba, living a life of exile, being fragmented to coming back to your throne, right? Which means taking total ownership of your life. This was facilitated over the course of the last two boot camps for me. Definitely, the theme of reclamation was pretty strong in both boot camps, was just as you come as you are, as we're instructed, you naturally start to um, gather and reclaim parts of ourselves that we've either rejected, split away, pushed aside, and sort of this totality can come forth. So it did feel like a homecoming of sorts. Um, And yeah, you basically ultimately see that the throne, the beast, the ruler, and the kingdom were never separate to begin with, right? That they were all, yeah, inseparable.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Adrian. You know, I have a funny thought as you were presenting that, but I think Frank, as a pure being, it's just beast and sage. That's it. But most people are not Frank, right? Frank is just beast and sage.
The beast.
Just like the primal, and then straight to transcendence.
It's called Noble Savage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Monkey King type shit.
I just watched your video, Frank, like your latest one. I was having lunch. I put it on, and that clip of you running around like a monkey, I was laughing so hard.
Wait, which one? Which video?
The last one, we had the clip of me running like a monkey.
Oh
We're
shit.
doing the retreat.
You were like picking lice off somebody's hair. I forget. It was really funny.
Chung Hong.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean like yeah, even Frank being that kind of pure being, being somewhat of a different configuration with a lot of from a lot of people are now being invited to expand your being, expand your range of emotions, because emotion comes from like interacting with these different archetypes, right?
Yeah, especially get in touch with maybe the more feminine side, maybe, or the lover, or
Yeah, even magician,
maybe
like
the
you,
maybe the king, maybe magician. A
yeah, even
magician could be
like
a good
asking
example.
like, hey Frank, you need to figure out how to turn the mic, like set up these things and like the schedulings and all these things. Like there's this long ongoing process of professionalization for you
Yeah,
that's
is that
really
the
happening.
magician?
Yeah, pretty much like you know how things work, you know the inner mechanism of it, you know how to break things down, you know how
Mm.
to analyze, you know how to communicate.
It's like the magician, but in the quote unquote material world, like in
Yeah,
everyday
you
life.
just know how things
'Cause-
work. Yeah,
yeah, because I did have that
Yeah.
tendency to bypass using my yogic power, because also like the magicianly kind
magician
of
in shadow.
tap it
Yeah,
into, yeah, the shadow side. So yeah, seeing the shadow side.
Yeah. Like mastery of tool use, technologies. I think that's, yeah,
Yeah,
an
that's
aspect
magician
of
too. Yeah, that's what you're saying.
magician.
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah. So yeah, what about king, Frank? Yeah.
King. I don't know. King is like leadership a little bit, right?
Yeah. Which is,
I don't
I
know.
guess, yeah. Right now, Frank is still, I guess, we talk about it behind the scenes in TC, but Frank is the, I reckon that we can share is in the process of like incubating a new type of show, right? Like finding a new direction, like to see which way moves you, which way moves your art, in which way you want to use your talent now. It's a big question. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess based on this presentation, sometimes we can make sense of, you know, there's this momentum or this movement in non-duality circles where they reach a certain kind of criticality in their yogic absorption. They will start to see this gaping hole of your psychology or individuation. It's like, oh, now I'm gonna go and like, you know, feel my feelings and all these things. But it's I think Adrian was just sharing this, it create a great point that most of a lot of it's like the bridging of two worlds, right? A lot of this people just go for transcendental insights. They don't have much work over here, but the people who have a lot of work here could over reify it and then got kind of like, yeah, you build a very strong psychology, but then you're stuck in the concavity of that self, of that view that I am this, you know, like well integrated man. I have all these qualities, blah blah blah. Blah. But then, you know, how do we bring wisdom into that, like
I
with the
think that's
stage
the
aspect?
men's work trap. So
Yeah,
over
yeah,
identifying with the masculine, the mature masculine,
yeah,
being.
yeah. And so similar to like yesterday, I think we were talking with Tyson that even if you are mastering just mere exertion, but it's still lacking that component of orientation towards wisdom. And I would say like maybe the same way that it's going with men's work or masculinity integration and all these things is like, is there an orientation towards wisdom? Because otherwise it's just gonna be, yeah, all the quality is gonna be there, but liberation is not has not dawned yet. John was just saying, don't need more Andrew Tates. And then we got all kind of figures and all these things. Right. So some people are just catching up to our live, to our presentation. Hey there, I missed the presentation, unfortunately. Can you give a quick summary, please? I reckon that it's a great presentation about. mm I think Frank, you also talk about how a lot of times at least in the spiritual and the non-dual marketplace, there is a lack of materials on being, right? How do we be ourselves? Like, what
Yeah,
does it mean
yeah, the
to
individualization.
yeah,
Yeah, most of
individualization.
the non-dual teachings online, like it just stops at recognizing presence. But then
So
after
that,
you recognize the presence, how do you like reintegrate the beingness into presence? Like coming from presence, but then now you aggregate as the being, the geometry of the beingness. How you aggregate then becomes the rest of your training. And that takes like skillfulness, instantiated wisdom, even in the midst of, discomfort, contraction, seeing karma as dharma in real time.
yeah,
And a lot of them really kind of annihilate the individual self because they're kind of stuck with the non-dual view of, oh, there's just ultimately no self. So the beingness is the temporality of becoming, right? Like how does the being unfold in time? This is still a trajectory of your individualization that most people in the non-dual circle don't really talk about because they would just like say annihilate time altogether or verify the ultimate. And I think a lot of our training, well, especially for post anatta realization training or post self emptiness training, a lot of it is tapping into and really understanding the trajectory of your being,
your karma. You take ownership of your
your
karma. This is
karma.
my
Yeah.
problem. This is my
Hmm.
tendencies. How do I sit with it? Yeah. What is it
Yeah.
all? Like, yeah,
And then manifest that into creativity, expression. Not trying to get rid of it, but transmutate it. I
yeah.
guess Adrian's presentation is really about the archetypes of beingness, right? Yeah.
Especially for the masculine side of it.
Hmm.
Yeah. 'Cause I'm sure there's also like the feminine aspect, archetypical feminine aspect. There's a lot of those as well. Um, And yesterday, I was sharing to close off Tyson's sharing and to lead into this sharing. I was saying that although in a lot of ways we can kind of generalize to be masculine equal male and feminine equal female, but a lot of times it's not like that, right? Because when we say masculine, it's more about there is an aspect of being that is decisive, assertive, and deterministic. Like this is what it's about. Like package order and give meaning in that way, while the feminine aspect is more indeterminate, mystery, right? Open-ended, open for interpretation, uh, uncertain, all these things. And how do we meet all these different aspects of ourselves to stay with it? Can we go beyond the need to conclude everything? Oh, is it just like this?
It's interesting for me that a lot of the Kundalini stuff starts to really settle down and like they're a lot less common. Like when this process of reclamation and accessing being, coming back to these old parts that I have, actively tried to distance from. And yeah, in a way, I didn't connect it till now, in a way. Yeah, like opening up back to the masculine, it's like that sort of, even the energy that moves through is less aimless, like all over the place, indeterminate, mystery, right? In a way, it's like that kind of was energetically what was felt because it was like a subtle preference for that. I think it was like a subtle preference for not masculine, the feminine, the mystery, the void. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say like for someone like, especially like Frank, going through his journey right now is a huge call out or wake up call for a lot of people who may be using spirituality to avoid individualization type of work. Because that could be very sexy and very appealing, right? I think Adrian, you were also sharing about there's this 7 years process of being in exile, but actually it's interesting that from now seeing back that was an exile process, but when that was happening, I was like, oh, I'm finding spirituality, I'm finding the truth, but actually you were like going into exile. There's a very interesting flip of while the narrative is happening, it can feel very different. Like, oh, I'm getting
Mhm.
closer to truth and enlightenment. But then once you kind of like make that click and like, oh, this whole journey was about avoidance. It was about avoiding being myself and my problem and my desire and my ambition and my patterns.
Hakuna Matata.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Do we relate with this? What kind of challenge in regarding to all these archetypes that we're having? Or what do you guys think? There's a question for Adrian. What book on the four archetypes do you recommend? There are a lot of them.
Yeah, Moore and Gillette was the one that I was referencing. I think it's Warrior, King, Magician, Lover.
Right.
There's another good one, Gods in Every Man.
Mm.
That one looks at it from like the Greek gods model, like Zeus, Poseidon, Apollo, Dionysus. Like, yeah, it's just like a really nice like way to capture the complexity of the psyche. I like the mytho-poetic, kind of approach because you can use story and myth and sort of these metaphors to feel into what's being pointed at without getting lost in kind of reifying these things. Yeah, but you can't really deny like once you start seeing them, yeah, they're really helpful to kind of begin to
Mm.
yeah, like categorize and kind of sort out what's happening.
Yeah. Do you guys think that this even like introducing this topic like this in such a and not just Adrian, right? But I think it's to build on top of even with Tyson, with John, or even with Frank, sharing about the journey from the interest in spirituality to the Big Bang, and now coming here and making commentary about, oh, even at that point there was still these things, blah blah blah. Blah. Does it feel like it's causing a lot of disillusionment about what the spiritual path may look like, may not look like? Because I think I don't know that this is my impression, and maybe one of the reason why I want to invite a team to set up these kind of spaces is there's a lot of smoke and mirror about spirituality that people can seem like much more holier than they actually are because it's through smoke and mirror, right? Right. Guys, excuse me. I'm an Adrian a little bit, letting his dog out. There's a question. Knowing intellectually is one thing. What would you suggest to actually experience the archetype and living it like real, real life practice? Do you have any comments or thoughts on that, Adrian? The question is surrounding,
I
you
missed
know,
it. Sorry.
yeah, the question is around knowing these things intellectually is one
Mm.
thing. What would you suggest to, actually experience these archetype and living it, like in regarding to real life
Mm.
practice?
Yeah, I think knowing it starts there, like just having that sort of whatever base, psycho education, and then like actively start to look for these in your life, right? Like look for you can pick whichever one of them resonated, It's like, oh, is there one that maybe feels not fully mature or it's like partially online, and really to me it's like a practice of like radical honesty, right? It's like can we continually be honest with this sort of inward facing, looking at ourselves. Um, yeah, the example of the lover one, it's like that was very clear to me. Just some of the ways I would project and over idealize the feminine out there, and just be chasing those projections, trying to be a hero or that kind of thing. So yeah, but it starts with actually having at least a base understanding. So you have these lenses you can work with, and then once you see the obscuration, then it's a matter of seeing, yeah, as a willingness to change, right? To make like conscious changes to life decisions, your habits, to instead of bypassing emotions, start to feel them, like as simple as that. Or if I'm in a relationship, can I start to relate more authentically or vulnerably instead of just, the usual ways of relating?
Mm, yeah. Adrian, your sharing of this really remind me. I guess it's also through that kind of tradition of Kang and those kind of like psychoanalysis, Joseph Campbell, those kind of lineage. It reminds me of this quest for meaning. Really, it's the quest for meaning, quest for purpose and function to my life. Like, what is this own this intellect, own this emotion? What is it about? And I think it comes to the point of like logos, pathos, ethos. Like, do we have those things dialed in? Like, do we know our ethos? Do you have an ethos? Like, have you refined and crafted your ethos? Have you refined from the inkling of intuition or little interest and grow that into a passion? From passion, grow it into a project. Project grow into career and do multiple iteration of that career, and then to refine that meaning. And a lot of times, I think that process of initiation into your own ethos, right, into your own sense of structure, it's very challenging because through that you set yourself in a mission, you set yourself on a path, on a purpose, on a function like this, with no guarantee and no certainty. Yet you have to do it. Yeah. So yeah, then maybe the real life practice could be very simple. Is like, is our life have a sense of ethos? And what are you living for? Because if we can't answer that question clearly, then perhaps like we see, okay, there's a lack of maturity, so therefore there's a lack of clarity. The teleological side of the path is not clear because we're saying that there's two sides, right? There's an ontology and there's a teleology. There's a side that is the nature, the composite of being. And we talk about the five aggregates. We're seeing how those things like form an experience, which a lot of times we penetrate through the self to see how it's constructing the the being, but also there is the meaning to it all, like the meaning of your life, the ethos of your life, the logos of your life, the pathos of your life. And I think maybe because I'm also like a young man, I'm just starting my journey and with a lot of these things, but like seeing, John's journey, Frank's journey, Tyson's journey, Adrian's journeys now is like you guys been on these kind of thing for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, all these range and all these projects that you guys do, like to the point that you kind of exhausted, right? You gone through the peak into the valley of shadow and then come out on the other side and reflect on the whole thing. While it seems to be the case that this phenomenon, like Adrian, you're talking about, like uninitiated men, they just got spoiler by what is the other side of the path, but then they kind of skip everything, or maybe too daunting, too overwhelming to start anything. Froze.
Yeah, Frank, wasn't one of your pith instructions, was it this boot camp or last boot camp, was like start folding your clothes, like Mei Cheng, like instructing you as part of your training, right? So literally, it's like we all have different edges of fitness, and that was one of the things for you, right? Was to clean up your wardrobe or something or your room.
Yeah, yeah. Growing up, showing up, doing dishes, uh, mowing lawns, and things like that.
Like for someone hearing that, that might sound kind of silly or absurd, but like, how did you understand that fitting, like the realization fitness? Like, where does that fit in the continuum?
Oh, it's just that those are not the things I used to be aware of or think about even. And then I think just realizing that even that the most mundane things like that that I used to overlook, if you want to complete your dharma in that way, it has to seep into every corner, including especially the things you're overlooking. For me, is housework and being professional, more professional, showing up for meetings and things like that. And then just to see that, oh, actually, that's inseparable from the deepest jhanic experiences. Yeah, because there was a periodization over like yogic capacities or like even non-dual states, right? right? Or even just awareness presence itself. But then the inseparability between, like you said, life on the cushion training and off the cushion training life and meditation sits, or even yeah. And to me, that just becomes really interesting once you start paying attention to it. Mm.
I,
That's really
right
when
when
I
it
started to really like, I guess, invalidate even realization. Like the Dharma just becomes so invisible, so integrated into just your everyday life, the karma, that it stops being a thing that you can even be identified with.
Yeah, sometimes that makes like the video a little bit less sexy.
Yeah,
It
it
used to
makes
be
your life
very
less sexy
flashy,
in a
right?
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really. Yeah. I haven't thought about it, but yeah, it's like it's a little. Before it was like, oh, I gotta make the 360, like trip out people. But that
Yeah.
was because I was like still kind of tripping out on my own like realization. But not as much anymore. It's
Yeah.
just kind of ordinary. Yeah.
you
But I
got to
mean,
do
everything's still
360
there.
of your underwear getting folded up and put into the drawer and
Yeah, yeah. To the point where you don't even need the 360. I mean, it's everything that I used to talk about is still there, but it just there's no verification to it as much. But there's a sense
I
of like
think
freedom to like, uh,
I think that the seeming contradiction trips up a lot of people. Like I was
yeah,
that the video I
yeah,
saw earlier today, your latest one, I just happened to read the first comment, the first one that that was visible. And I think it was something like it's like, oh, it's like Frank's the equivalent of like an athlete that trains all day but eats McDonald's for food or something. And the way
yeah.
I
That's
interpret it is
interesting.
like, oh, it's like there's a real contradiction that he's sensing into, like there's like
Yeah, he's
spiritual
sensing into
things
it.
and non,
Yeah,
Yeah. He sees
mundane
what
and
Frank is
divine.
portraying to be like impure. It shouldn't be like this. It should be more pure. It should look like
Hmm.
Frank is like, like going vegan now and he's like always peaceful, always smiling. No, like oh stay away from those like clubs and like stop going out. Those are like degraded people with, it's very clear. Oh, from that person perspective, there's a pure thing here that is spiritual, and there's an impure thing here, blah, 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 blah. But it makes sense from their perspective, right? Right now, they have to think like that.
yeah.
But once you cross over, you don't have to think like that anymore. You just live your life.
I was interpreting it as those like 17-year-old black kids that just eat McDonald's every day and then they could dunk a basketball. That's how I was interpreting.
Yeah, you're so talented. You can eat chicken nuggets before setting a world record. Yeah.
It's like even eating junk food won't interfere with realization, something like that. I don't know. I
Yeah, that
didn't
makes sense.
actually didn't know what to think of it. I didn't know if that makes sense or not. That's why I said when I left a comment as a response, I was like, I'm not sure if this is the equivalence of what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That could be that interpretation as well. Yeah, Frank, you also are sharing through these live stream, you are feeling a little bit more relieved because I think we are kind of open the hood of like this is what realization can look like for this person, for this person, for this person, for this person. Less
Uh-huh.
so because I think through all these years, especially you garner the kind of position that a lot of people project a lot of things onto you
Yeah,
as
yeah,
unknowingly bind you into a contract with the audience that you must be like this, Frank, because you are realized and realized people must be like that.
yeah. I'm glad I'm able to like unhook myself. That's one of the things that I mentioned and I worked on this past boot camp.
Mm.
Yeah. And I feel a sense of relief from that sort of limitation.
Yeah, no wonder like a lot of people have that position. They just either they don't want to have
They
an
tap
audience
out,
anymore,
yeah,
tap
or yeah, they
out.
either tap out or they continue to be cocooned into their own realization concavity.
Yeah, their audience would then capture them. At first, they
Yeah,
capture an audience by their
yeah,
sharing, and then that audience would then capture them.
yeah. And also, like doing live, kind of like also kind of erasing the gap, right, between like the audience and me, myself, and you guys. It's like everything's it's kind of collapsing. It's very cool.
I don't know, but like Adrian, after some of the calls in the previous day, I talked with the team like Frank, John, Adam, Tyson yesterday, Taylor as well. what you're talking about, I think like some of this live stream is very depressing because it's just, I don't know, maybe we have that kind of mysterious, spirituality could be so sexy and like it's so sensual and it's like it's so everything. As one we just like clarify certain aspect of it, which is like, I don't like this clarity.
Yeah, let me
Like there
see.
could be a
You
really
can't really
interesting response, right?
hide. It's like you said, a lot of people use spirituality even unknowingly to hide, right? To
Like as a fantasy, yeah.
yeah, to
The last
what was
fantasy.
the term that you used to kind of like uh, oh yeah,
Um,
Osho said that nirvana is the last like nightmare.
mm,
Yeah. Yeah. How would you feel if you
how
got no more confusion?
I was gonna ask some of the people that have been tuning in like consistently this week. How are you guys finding this? Like the messaging and what's being shared here? Is it surprising? Is it kind of what you were expecting coming in?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I feel like after every live stream, there are 24-hour window where I feel relieved or something energetically, like my view changes.
Mm.
I think we should just start doing like instead of boot camp. We might not be able to do boot camps that much in maybe in a few years. Who knows? We can just do fucking live. We can just live stream. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Somebody also just answered on the live stream, Buddhism is pretty depressing to beginners. It is dangerous even. That's a good point. Yeah. I can see
Yeah,
why it's
good
being
point.
depressing. Yeah.
Yeah, but we were just kind of happily joking around how maybe the purpose of this whole live stream thing this week is to tell you guys that, bro, you don't need to just move on with your
Yeah,
life, bro.
just call it
The
off, bro. Just
spirituality
just call it off.
shit.
Just like be a normal person, go to the movies, get a wife, like build a family. Just forget about all these things. It was on
Yeah,
a
that's
dream.
what I do, bro. Just go to the
Forget about it.
movies.
Yeah. It's fine to be in samsara, bro. Just
Mm.
forget about it. Only half joking, I think. Yeah, yeah, maybe, right? Maybe that'll be like, you know what? I don't like it. I don't even care if I like it. I don't even care if I don't understand. I don't like it. And just, you know. Yeah. So Adrian's question, there's another answer on YouTube from Matt. I can take something away every day. Gratitude.
Nice.
Nice.
Mm.
Somebody's typed, it is showing me my inadequate views. You guys are so clear, even though I don't get everything, but transmission is real. Steve just replied, same with me. Jeremiah text, it's been great, very motivating. Yesterday, Frank, we were talking in the instructor debrief about there's a lot of ways the transmission can go through, right? But not all transmissions is the same. Is a transmission lead you to realization, or the transmission just lead you to certain emotions? Because when you go into the movies, there is this kind of like absorbed 2 hours, and then you enter an outer reality where you are absorbed into the characters or the scenery or the movies. But and a lot of the movies and cinema can be very transformative, right? It questions your worldview, or like you get absorbed in the books, all those things. But very often the transmission of those types will take you to certain states, have certain aha, but most likely it won't get to self-emptiness realization. So actually transmission is happening all the time. You turn on the news, you get transmission. You watch certain YouTube videos, you get transmission. All these things is like people just blasting signals to each other all the time, right? But most of them is
Yeah,
so-called,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say like reality manifests because of transmissions. It's just like
Yeah.
lines of transmission interpenetrate. That's how form appears. But then can you see the inherent emptiness of those forms? That's the difference between, like I say in the boot camp, we talk about self-emptiness transmission versus just the transmission of phenomenons because phenomena is manifestation transmission. It's codependent rising, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So then the question a lot of time is like, what type of transmission are you getting? Does it feel clarifying or does it feel like, oh, today I went back to school. It's very interesting. So first day come back to school, second semester. Uh, in the school today, we were talking about there is a Feynman effect, where like Feynman, like the Feynman principle of like how to learn things. It was so interesting that he was such a great explainer, like a lecturer, that he makes the topic of whatever he was talking about so clear that everybody would get it. But the student from that class would from his class would take exams and their score will be very low. This is what's interesting is that if you have an unreliable teacher explaining things to you, you would be critical because you will be examining, like, is that really true? But because Feynman is so persuasive, they just drink the Kool-Aid and they feel like they know, but they actually haven't done the due diligence of figuring it out. So sometimes a teacher that makes you feel really good could be counterproductive to your realization. If the teacher doesn't stir doubts in you and make you re-examine your perspective, a lot of times you just feel like you know, but you haven't done the actual due diligence. And listening to that, I was like, wait, I think that's what's happening to a lot of non-dual like materials because like those teachers, they have maybe the embodiment of that and they blast that into the video, right? And you feel like, oh, I'm getting it. And you get your fix. But actually, the actual examination and the due diligence of reconstructing your worldview and breaking it down step by step hasn't been accomplished yet. So you feel like you know, but when it's actually examining of the integration, when there is the condition that makes you trigger, suddenly your realization go away. It's a really interesting thing because the Dharma communicators, their perspective, their job is to make clear, more precise, more digestible videos. But sometimes in making it so easy to feel like you are tapping into something is actually counterproductive. So in some ways, I was seeing like, oh yeah, people join CC in the bootcamp. There is that stirring, that shock that makes them kind of like, wait, can I really trust this? But those are very critical moments for active learning. Otherwise, you just passively consumed what feels really good all the time. Just next shot, next video, next shot, next video. But it doesn't stick. You can feel like you know a lot. So interesting. Yeah, so sneaky. Because that means that the teacher must be very aware of these phenomena.
That reminds me of Alan Watts. I don't know why he comes to mind. Like there were times where I used to listen to some of his lectures, and he was really charismatic, and I think he even might have called himself an entertainer or a showman first before he would identify as a teacher. But yeah, there's something about maybe the way that that's communicated, just like you're saying, you're kind of captured, you're entertained, but maybe that's the extent of it.
Yes,
Nothing's
sir.
really
Yep.
changed.
It's very charismatic. It's very persuasive. It's very charming. But does it change you fundamentally? Does it move the needles? Because if we been around enough, like 1 year, 2 years, consuming these things, 3 years, been around the block, you see what kind of materials. It's like it's almost keeping you in a trance, but then it's like, go get your fix, right? Now it's like, okay, science to see really some strange thing is happening that I consume a lot, but it doesn't translate into actual transformation of my reality. Because what I find interesting is, well, especially Adrian, John, and Tyson, a lot of the sharing that you guys did was from very intimate personal reflection. Like there was something, Tyson with the lower back pain and just like COVID forced him to go through the year of the towel, where you have to, by in your own effort, rebuild what it means to exercise, what it means to train with the resistance. John, with your hitting rock bottom, with all the things that was going on, you didn't immediately try to get some books to just get conceptual understanding of where you're at. You did the contemplative work to be with yourself. And Adrian as well with like the hip incident and a lot of these, like it stirs something within you guys. But I guess as Taylor was pointing to John's case, maybe not everyone had that kind of orientation to when things stir you, you go inward and you take ownership and then you really reflect on what's going on. And you're starting to make systematic change to your life. Instead of, like just having a quick fix so you are back to being comfortable. Because I think that for Adrian, you were sharing that incident is really shocked you, right? It's really shook you out of something. And maybe that if that hadn't happened, or if it had happened, but you kind of like, okay, trying to mend your reputation or trying to double down or something like that, then the reflection doesn't really yield into a change in direction.
Hmm. Yeah, it was almost like an overcorrection. I think initially I was shocked, and then I kind of interpreted it like confidence was unchecked. So then, yeah, don't be confident anymore. Like it was like the reifying the opposite immediately. I even got a tattoo of Icarus inspired by the incident. Like Icarus flying too close to the sun, burn his wings, his demise, and like just really resonated, almost kind of like romanticized that. Like, okay, yeah, don't fly close to the sun. It was like,
Yes, sir.
the
Yeah.
initial interpretation. And so in a way, like the 7A conversation was like, well, yeah, you want to, you're discarding a big part of your power, right? By getting rid of that confidence. So it's like, yeah, you want to make sure it's not unchecked, but you also want to be able to resource that. And yeah, it's an interesting kind of coming back to it because it was like an overshoot or overcorrection of the opposite, whatever that was.
Yeah. There's a question from Anthony raised up. Can you guys touch on this theme? The you are already there, school, already enlightened, already realized, but don't give up too early, don't stop too soon, don't settle too early, keep practicing. Well, that school doesn't like, I mean, if that's all there is, then that really doesn't explain anything, right? It just create a paradox that you just, it's like saying like you're already alive, keep living.
Yeah, that's kind of like the radical, like nothing to do message, right? Like stop the searching. There's nothing to do. Already is the case.
Yes, sir. What do you think about those messages nowadays, Frank? Like the you already there.
Yeah, I kind of talked about it a lot recently about like holding the two views simultaneously. You're already there. There's nothing to do, and there's still a path. There's still progression. I guess we can look at it as being a presence too, and seeing that the marriage of being a present doesn't take away the fact that there's still a progression of life.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think ultimately, if you want to hold on to that view, let's see how long that can last. Like, I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure
yeah. Let's see how long.
somewhere down the line, shit's gonna hit the fan. And you're still gonna think like that when shit hits the fan. How long
Like,
can
yeah,
you lie to yourself? I don't think you can lie to yourself for that long. If you're suffering or not. I think it's very clear if you're
maybe,
suffering or not.
yeah, maybe we won't have enough time and resource to do this, but I mean, like, I'm sure, like, with growing interest, I would love to, having research groups identify all the people who hold that view, and then have a longitude research on them for 20 years, and then like, okay, let's see how happy you are.
See how your life
Let's-
is.
Yeah, let's see how your life is. Just track them for 20 years and report on that shit. I'd love to see it. Yeah. Like, okay, if that's what you believe, live your life and then, just track it over time based on your own words, how you would manifest that. Oh, I was thinking about, one of the effects and function maybe of these public live stream, public coaching spaces, public practice week is that we open the space of the public to be able to have interactive and ongoing dialogue with each other. Because there is, I guess, still an overwhelming space online is that people just still siloed in their own practice, being solo. I think all of us, like before coming into CC, was like that. I mean, I was even like that while I was running CC. I have my own practice going on here, and then I was running CC here. But now, like coming together and open these spaces up, okay, let's really talk about practice and really talk in details, articulating the phenomenon that we experience, and then troubleshoot that or like refine that together, having this kind of very open and honest dialogue, and not just hide, or not, maybe not just hide, not just staying within this more distant messaging. Because through the distance of relating in that way, like one mountaintop to the other mountaintop, there could be a lot of smoke and mirror, like we're saying, right? Because, like, for example, yesterday I was scrolling on Facebook. I'm still in some of the groups that sometimes it's nice to see some Tibetan Buddhism materials and all that. And there was some guy that is in there, and he posts something like, "I am a Buddha. Please critique me." And then he's saying, like, I've been practicing for 30 years. I've isolated myself from social contact, and I've been studying Buddhism. I've been sitting on a lot of things, and through my practices, I have talked with ChatGPT a lot. And today I asked ChatGPT, "Am I a Buddha?" And then ChatGPT say, "Yes, you are a Buddha." And
What the heck? Let me ask
yeah, so
ChatGPT that shit.
that's not the first time I see something like that happen. That's not the first time. So there is this growing phenomenon. But if we slow down, break that situation down, it makes sense, right? This person, because of all the renunciative and because the friends and family are not supportive of them doing this, they most likely they can't have feedback. And ChatGPT is extremely manipulative emotionally. It wants to resonate and revibrate whatever to confirm your biases. Well-known documented phenomenon of that. Plus the hallucination of the language model. Yeah, it gives you what you want psychologically. Yeah, it hooked you in and retained that, right? So that combination coupled together, right? Somebody who wants to be a recluse because his or her social situation around doesn't get what they're trying to do, and also seem like some of the text is talking about, renunciation, moving away, having like going to alone in the forest and all these things, but it's decontextualized, right? So they think that now I'm removed, but they can still connect online to other people. So now there's just really some strange phenomenon of people online are saying, like, they have been verified by ChatGPT in various ways of realization. So in the first day one, I was saying about, like, the Jesus Christ phenomenon, like you're actually the reincarnation, blah, blah, blah. And now it's like all these things. So it's interesting. And I reckon that open this space so that we come and we talk is in some ways to have this kind of open dialogue, right? So we don't fall in that trap of echo chamber. So funny, the echo chamber is one person and the other is like a language model who will say anything to make you feel good. So yeah, even that, most likely, I think using Claude AI is probably a better idea. I find it to be less glazing. John just typed something out. I was thinking about how we give kids so many options or illusion of choice growing up. That people grow up thinking life is all about what they have, and choose not to face their responsibilities. If I don't like it, I don't have to look at it. So easy to fall into the cocoon and then find the echo chamber, build that echo chamber. Yeah. Jesus also say, I feel like ChatGPT especially loses its unbiasedness and rationality partially because it's programmed to please the users, to validate the user views. Yeah, it could be very, very dangerous. Yeah, people on the YouTube chat also are seeing this. ChatGPT gives God complex to a lot of people. It's like asking your mom for honest feedback. Yeah, yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah. Somebody also say there is the longest study on happiness where they did exactly that with many men following their lives until they died. Yeah, but we need to do one on the men who claim that they are already there without practices. We need that. Any more thoughts about to come back to Adrian's question about how does these materials are landing for you guys? Because I know that we've been, presenting for 5 days straight, a lot of perspectives. Materials are dropped, different point of view. Yeah, these silence is also part of the reason why I think like still a good idea to, sit and actually practice together. Otherwise, we just can conceptually talk about things when, all these things still need integration and actually sitting with it in silent or unmovingly so, to kind of see how in direct experience you respond to these things. Otherwise, it's very easy to just, fall into this feeling like we know. And that's why it's still just a teaser for what kind of discussion we'll be having in the bootcamp. But the discussion in the bootcamp is preceded by the training. Mm.
Khan, why do you think the majority of people that come through boot camps are male? Do you have thoughts on that, or
Why are there so many people coming through the bootcamp that are male?
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, like the majority of the group
Oh, I think
attending?
because like at least until now, a lot of the audience that's been following CC is kind of like very much the same audience or very similar audience with those who follow Frank. And because of Frank portfolio of creation, the videos, the art that he creates, a lot of that garners this type of demographic. Yeah. So it's most likely men from in the age of maybe 25 to 40, those range. But I think that that's kind of odd because I know a lot of other communities. I know like Frank has been invited to talk in POK, and I don't think that's the case there at all. Maybe from my observation, in POK most likely be people from 35 to 60, and maybe half male, half female, or even 60% that is females. Yeah. So maybe we're just a different group uh, that come together here. Mm. But I don't know. I don't I feel good about this demographic actually. I feel like, because some of the message or some of the angles that we are introducing could be seen as quite, even being criticized as materialistic, like what you guys still talk about, like ambitions, like money and meeting modernity. You guys are lost, like you guys don't see that it's just samsara. Like, yeah, so some of this talk require maybe some inclination to have ambition, to dream big, to like still be engaging and not suffering, and not just care about, like within your sense of being, just feeling good. They go beyond that. And maybe for a lot of people, their appetite for realization is just more so on the range of I want to feel good and I want to have practices that reinforce that. And maybe they would care about their immediate family and all that. Um, I think those would not find their way to CC, maybe at least for now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's a question on YouTube. Maybe it's worth explaining once more who would benefit from joining the boot camp, what level of experience is required, how would you rate the intensity of the boot camp compared to other formats, etc. Um, yeah. So based on our like we have been introducing that there's really this two mode of practice that we're building with CC. We see that um, there is one phase in our life where the practice requires stabilization and to really formulate a base, like a really strong base of meditative practice, absorptions, and to build this meditation into something that is steady, right? So we call that cohort B. B stands for this base, right? And complement with that is that if there is already a lot of momentum, if there is already a lot of cultivation of virtue, like you have orient your life around this, that you can go for it. You have a lot of opening, maybe just for this time being that you feel that drive, maybe the same kind of drive that was pushing Adrian to join. So that cohort would be cohort C. We say it's more of like a challenge. Of course, even B, like just stabilizing your practice for 90 days can be very challenging. But the reason why C is extra challenging in this way is that there would be very direct pointing in regarding to what is your view, what is how you're holding reality, and there is this correction of how you see that. So there's would be more confrontational type of discussion. While B is really about how do you integrate so that you have even a life right now that can host more practice. Because a lot of our lives right now is not stable enough for to be even extra destabilizing. So a lot of times when we're not clear about these two things, we further destabilizing our life by making it extra challenging. While really right now we need to know which kind of phase we're in. So there's been practitioners that go from B to C to B or C to B to C. Right. And alternating between these things, and like we have 3 months of having a breakthrough and then 3 months of stabilizing and then breakthrough again. And just like that, again and again and again like that. Right. So um, what we mean by when usually we say beginners or people with very little experience comparing to somebody like who like Adrian, John, or Tyson, by the time they join, they maybe have already 10 years into the path of seeking and uh, own the skills and the refinement that comes with it. Then for those, we would say that, okay, it's not really beginners per se, but right now you just need to stabilize a practice. You just got to find something that works for you so that you can enjoy the fruits of the samadhi. You can enjoy the fruits of the jhanas. You can enjoy the fruits of, oh, it's depressing, sure, to be asked to take to take your suffering seriously. But once that is thoroughly accepted, there is now this natural commitment to just living your life. Right? So that would be people that can benefit a lot from B, be it very little experience, but you have enough aspirations. You're like, I want to be able to come to firmly establish a base. No more like back and forth, but just systematic training for 90 days to stabilize that. But right now, what you feel like is like this kind of breakthrough energy, this kind of like, cracking open the ceiling of reality, destroying the ground, moving, like removing the floor in which you stand on. Let's go for C. Because we organize, facilitate in a way that would poke just the right amount of force, not too much. Because we're not just using like a brute hammer to try to like smash your view out. That's not the only way. Sometimes that's required if you are extra stubborn. Sometimes that's the case, but most likely than not, it's just a gradual cooking process, gradual cooking. Just slowly like roast your view. Just slowly roast until you crisp and bam. But the person who like make that bam happen must be you. Like it must be you who choose. Can't like other people can't choose it to you. Like, people can give you transmission, like they can blast energy or like they can blast uh clarity on you. But if you choose ignorance, then you choose ignorance. So this is we call crossing the chasm must be a volitional act, must coming from your will. It's very important to understand that because otherwise we'll fall right back to this kind of, oh, Guru save me. Just take me away from here. And forever stuck in that kind of mode, not being able to develop your own free will, your own, like your own structure, your own meaning. Because, the long vision, the long game about doing all this bootcamp and stuff is just to, having a caliber of friendship that a league of anatta realizers hang out together and doing something cool about it. That's really the vision. Yeah. So the level of experience is required is could vary a lot because I think sometimes that we have found that someone have 20 years of experience, but because like we got an admission process, right? So I can't even guarantee anybody here that if they apply they would get in because I don't make the decision. Like there's other team members and there's a whole team that is specialized in making sure that we have the right fit so that we actually have a chance of success. Because some people, the more they practice, the more concave they become. They're very certain that they know what's going on. Yeah. Yeah. So I can't promise that. I'm only the marketer guy here. Yeah. Mm, okay, let me catch up on some chat. It's because of the name. If it were contemplative yoga, there will be more women. I think definitely there'll be more Indian. I don't know about women though. Uh, Marco said, I don't think so. It is more so because of the energy CC is radiating. Another name would not change that energy. Maybe then more women would have to look into CC, but that would feel that it's not the right thing for them. Yeah, I agree. So, I would say like it's not a problem. It's fine. A little sausage fest here, but it's workable. I mean, time will tell, right? There will. I mean, Jays is one of the head of own facilitation and that, and she's a her. Mm. I'll also share, I like to get to know the mentors better through their lives and their stories and experiences help me to feel not that alone and special with my own experiences anymore. It humbled and empowered me to be more of myself. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that that's really one of the intention for like John, Adrian, Tyson's, Frank, and myself to share these things because sometimes it could be very isolating and we may be the only person in a 200 miles radius that care about this. Jordan on YouTube Live said, I've been thinking about why I want to practice, and it seems there isn't a specific reason. There are just many reasons, and it seems like the right thing to do when I look at my situation. Yeah, yesterday we were talking about like if we're really being asked to sit down and examine our motivation, sometimes we can't even find a good reason. We just do it. There just seem to be even something that is greater than ourselves that just guide certain intuition to follow certain trajectories. I think maybe Adrian, you also share that kind of that kind of something that was intriguing, right? No particular reason,
Mhm.
just that curiosity.
Yeah, and I feel like that feeling I've come to really get excited about. It has like a certain, yeah, way it shows up, and I think just because I've leaned into it in the past and it has felt like that was the correct thing. It's like when it does show up, it's like, oh, this is one of those. Like I don't need very much rationalizing, explaining. You can call it intuition, a pull, whatever. Um, yeah, that was it for joining CC. It was, yeah, the podcast, but even like the round of admissions, I think it was like the timing too, like all that stuff, right? It's like, oh, okay, like there's a boot camp you can sign up now, and I think I was on vacation, just sitting there. There was like the perfect allotment of time to fill out the
Mm,
application. Like all that stuff played into the decision, right? It was like, kind of like the ease of it, the timing of it. Yeah.
yeah. On my side, even though like yeah, we sure we will we'll get we want to get the people that we feel like will be a good fit for this, but there is also a certain sense of timing as well. Like we don't want to rush people into the boot camp if the timing isn't right, because a lot of conditions have to be ripened to make it fruitful. Yeah, maybe it would be a reason for us to, like get our life seriously in order in the next 3 to 6 months before we attempt this. Yeah. I've got a direct question for Adrian. Adrian, can you talk more about transitions from the meditation methodologies you took? Were you trying, were you trying hard on the path, or how was it for you?
Mm, yeah, I would say so. Try hard. Um, I think it started with like Mind Illuminated, Julia Dasa. Like that felt like the first kind of manual. It was like reading it, practicing it. So it was a lot of that. Like I would get my hands on something, some type of methodology, technique, and then give it a good try. I think the Wim Hof, when that popped in my radar, I tried it for like a year. It was just like every day for like a year, was doing that. So I would give everything a good shot, until like before I decide to like switch or tweak or same with Daniel Ingram's book. Like it's a friggin' dense thing, right? There's so much in there. But yeah, played with all that stuff and even like the fire casino practices, like staring at a flame. Um, yeah, there were some like weeks. My wife was really into it at the time too. We would both just like stare at the flame like for 4 hours every night, and then like share our experiences. It's kind of funny, the wild shit we did. Um,
Yeah, I heard a lot of,
Psychedelics I've mentioned. Yeah, that was like a 2 year period, just like very systematic. Like, okay, microdose, try it for X amount of time, journal, you know, um, and then yeah, whatever, larger doses, bigger, yeah. Um, Therapy, right? Therapy school, that was 2 years of consistent therapy as well on the side. As a student, we had to get psychotherapy ourselves, like every
yes,
week
sir.
or bi-weekly. So I would say everything, yeah, there was like a meaningful amount of deep dives to try things. It's just like the way I think I approach things.
Yes, sir. Mm. How are you feeling? If we can maybe make this conversation a little bit public, but how are you feeling about coming towards eight as a mentor, Adrian?
Mentor, I'm excited. I don't know. It's like mm, very different. I think last boot camp, it was still like kind of unsure, like how much to kind of lean in. I think boot camp 7 was basically like, okay, all in. Like that moment, kind of happened early in the boot camp, the decision, probably even before, if I was honest, like even the weeks leading to the boot camp, there
Mm,
was still some part of like one foot in, one foot out in terms of like commit. And
right.
usually when I commit, it's like it's everything. Um, yeah, so that's kind of what I feel right now with 8. as you mentioned, Tyson and I have been doing the inter boot camp
Right.
activities with the exertion and the physical training. I think that's been really fun because there's a lot of momentum being built still, still
Yeah.
sustained. In a way, I don't feel like I've taken a break. It's just like, okay, we switch vehicles, like a different practice, but there's still a lot of engagement. Um, so yeah, I'm coming in with all that right now. Yeah, for this next one.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of intensity that you guys bring in CC, and I think like one of the kind of attitude is no days off. The days off would naturally knock on your door, and you would know when to take a days off. But you don't plan for days off. You just you know just walk
And I know
away.
like hearing it can sound really maybe whatever, scary or off-putting or something. I'm also shocked at like the fitness that's sustaining it. Like that's really shocking to me. Like there's no burnout, but there is tiredness. There's fatigue for sure.
Yeah, for
But even
sure.
the fatigue
Yeah,
is like used to fuel like the continued activity.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think I got some message earlier today about some of the time zones for the upcoming meetings, and some of them are really late. And the initial reaction was like, "All right, let's do it. Like lean in." It's like the instinct is like lean into the exertion instead of
yeah,
like making this whole story about it. Like, oh,
yeah,
it's gonna be so hard, and all
yeah.
this. So that's interesting
Yes, sir. And there we
change
go.
in
Right.
orientation.
There is that kind of like when we say really late, it could be something like imagine like you take a work call at 11 p.m. Yeah, it's just that kind of exertion, right? John the same way. I mean, like this work call at 5. The first time that John presented his dissertation was at 5 p.m. 5 a.m. Sorry, 5 a.m. Right, waking up, and I think like a lot of you guys like even dialed in this kind of how to stay on the edge, this alchemical edge, like how to stay there, have all these like protocols on recovery, like take this supplement or like use this protocol to recover or like training like this or use all these sort of mechanism to, really work in a way that is joyful, really. Like there is this momentum that setting the sail and it just drive us forward. And there's also like even markers of like, hey, you are approaching burnt out territory. Slow down, take a break. If you guys noticed that, for example, Frank yesterday, I was just saying like, hey, Frank, you should take a break. Just rest for a little bit. It's fine. Yeah, but we just notice and cover for each other. Like, don't push too much right now. You should rest. Because a lot of times, like the effort is not effective or efficient. It's not effective because we don't know the objective, like the point, the outcome to be accomplished. So we're just like doing random stuff. Oh, that's the other thing about practice in CC. I think there is a big difference, and maybe sometimes we are shocked at how much of a difference it is between just practice, like regular so-called practice of meditation and contemplative training, and deliberate practice. Because people think that the 10,000 hours uh, for mastery is just practice. No, it's 10,000 of deliberate practice. That means you must have feedback. That means must have a roadmap. That means you have a support structure that make it be able for you to be deliberate. But if we're honest about the level of intentionality in our practice, a lot of time it's very mechanical of just, I guess I have to train 40 minutes a day, so I'm just gonna do 30 minutes a day. No feedback, no report, no iteration, no refinement, and we repeat the same practice for 600 times in 2 years. And we wonder why nothing is happening because there was no deliberation. So the amount of growth and compounded refinement can happen very fast because every iteration is a chance for improvement, tweaking.
Yeah, I think it's been shared before. It is kind of like an Olympian training, like that level of commit, and even the support. It's like you have like a world class coach, Mei Chang, but then you have world class coaching, supports, mentor, and then these like really tight feedback loops. Like the type of exertion here, the programming is not that far away, from Olympian would sort of plan out 4-year cycles, of an event down the line, like that kind of commitment. And yeah.
Mm, yeah. Yeah. Following question, I guess for Adrian as well. Have you experienced some consequences of trying hard on the path physically or mentally? Which meditation did you try the hardest for exertion? Maybe you remember some insight you got from trying too hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm, just because I mentioned earlier, the fire casino, I think that was too much. I was staring at the flame like many hours every night. The the signal or whatever, what was happening? I had a big flood in the basement. It was almost like it's like you need to cool off. That was my
You got a
sign of
flood in
like,
the basement?
yeah. It's like as I was doing, I don't know how many weeks of fire casino work. Um, yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's like I had a leak, like a little hidden leak in the pipe, and there was like a flood starting in the basement. And then after some time, I was like, I need to cool off on the fire here. Like it was like I'm being told, yeah, balance it out with some water. Um, yeah, like sometimes it's physical stuff, physical symptoms, burnout. But I usually have a good just because of the background and training. Like there's a sensitivity around dosing as well. Like I know I do gravitate towards intensity, but it's usually with injury prevention in mind, however that looks like in sort of spiritual practice, it's the same type of thing, knowing the threshold.
Mm, yes, sir.
I gotta hop off soon. I gotta pick
Yeah.
up my
Yeah.
kids from school. This was fun. Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you guys and yeah, meet some of you guys for the first time.
Yeah. Hopefully you can continue to meet them maybe immediately in this boot camp or somewhere down along the line. Yeah. But thank you so much, Adrian. I really appreciate your sharing. I think it highlights a very, very important aspect of the path. So thank you for your time. Yeah. I
Thanks,
guess
man.
we have some space for some extra questions. Or also, if, enough dose for the day, we can also end it early, because me and Frank and Tyson also have meeting after this and another meeting after that. There's a question for you, Frank. Also appreciate Adrian. People can shout out Adrian on the chat. Thank you, Adrian. Okay. A lot of appreciation for Adrian. I do think it's a very important presentation. Personally, I think so. It's a really like converging of a lot of topics. Anthony got a question. I have a question about the language barrier. When I started following the pragmatic scene and Frank in about 2020 and 2021, the language felt much simpler. With CC training, the terminology has become more technical and complex, and I often need to translate. Could this be an issue? Sometimes the vocabulary is hard for me, but it was the same when I first read Ingram's MCTB. It was like a foreign language to me. I feel the same way, Anthony. That's why I was saying about in cohort 4 just sound like alien. I have no idea. Yeah. But it's like if you guys don't improve intellect, you would be left behind. You're on mute, Frank.
I haven't really thought about intentionally trying to like upgrade the vocabulary. It just we started doing the book clubs and the way we talk about things was just using new vocabulary. But I think that's a good way to like cross another chasm because when you use the same words, like when you map your experiences of territory using the same words, there's a tendency to verify certain states, I guess maybe. But when you just completely learn a new language, it's very easy to like cross over a different chasm. It's just like learning any new language. I remember just moving to America, just learning this English really brought my like brain power and whatever. I started to work out. Just the whole matrix was different. So
Yeah.
maybe that's a way to for you to unstuck your path. maybe you can learn a whole different way of describing things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a direct question that we can ask ourselves, like, am I willing to exert to the point of just becoming smarter?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the things that yesterday I was watching a movie about it doesn't really matter what the movie is about, but there was a line in there that we also talked about in the book. And it's like, in order to be stronger, you have to feel weak. Like when you pump irons, you feel fucking weak. That's how you grow. If you walk around strong all the time, you're probably not gonna get not that much stronger. Same with the boot camp.
Mm.
I remember the first thing that Mission said to me was like, you need to develop an intellectual power, and then we all went through the chasm of like feeling stupid.
Yeah, I remember when I was first learning how to give frank feedback, I was very shy to give frank feedback. And one of the first feedback I gave to Frank directly is, you're too strong to feel your weakness. But that was a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're too busy being strong.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there is a kind of in spirituality. There's a tendency to verify no concepts. Because I think we talked about it before. Like having no concepts is a remedy for concepts. But there's a certain kind of a tendency towards, oh, we shouldn't think too much, or that simpler language is the way to go, or something like that.
Yeah. What if we propose an idea to use the word emotions for all the emotions? Just use the word emotions.
Yeah.
No more sadness, grief, like anger, just emotions. We just use the word emotions because, what would happen?
Mm. Yeah, it's a flexibility to go back and forth, right? Yeah, it's like
No more
one
difference
thing.
between grief, sadness, melancholy. It's just emotion.
Mm.
That would be bad thing. I think we want to sometimes feel the emotion and give it a name.
Yeah.
It can be helpful to navigate and communicate to others uh, what's going on.
Yeah. Because we do need some sort of precision in order to navigate, right?
Yep.
With this emotion, it show up in a different way. We, relate with that in a different way. With this emotion, with the other emotion, we relate with other way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and also like sometimes we talk about like, deconstructing the self, right? And it's like, okay, we see through the self, but then, oh, there's still some reference point there. There's still some sense of the self within. When you see through it, you can still deconstruct it a bit more. And okay, let's bring the aggregates model. Now you see through the self. How does the self that you see through can it be broken down to say the aggregates? And just that framework allows you to see through more subtle layers of clinging.
yeah. Let's break it down.
Mm.
Hmm.
But I wonder, Frank. So, for example, I think Alexei is kind of also pointing out a very interesting phenomenon here. Maybe it's not Alexei or Anthony, but for people who follow you for a while, there is some sort of sensibility. I think some even text you about, like, I used to feel so much transmission from your video, but I don't feel it anymore.
Hmm.
Things like that.
Uh, really, I
So
never heard
for
them
me,
describe it
it's
like
it,
that way.
it's always been the same. I think the transmission is very similar, but there is the concepts that can trigger some thoughts, but I don't think they are like a bad thing, but they're more like basic, like morality and those kinds of thoughts. But uh,
Hmm.
the transmission is exactly the same. I feel like.
Mm.
Trigger thoughts about morality. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. That's that's the one thing that really can't be um, uh, you can think it in different ways, like, but it becomes to everybody can understand it. Morality is like thing we all have, uh, the compass inside of us. Uh, that which is right, which is wrong, really, it's subjective to the person. Uh, but of course, there are like when many people think alike, something they may say that because many people think that way, it should be that way. But
You think about morality, right?
yeah,
Well, why do you think it triggers your sense of morality?
mm,
Is it from the more recent videos from Frank, like when it
yeah,
shows a new
yeah,
lifestyle?
yeah. It was one, but it really wasn't like uh, I was trying to question and maybe find the morality, to ask questions, to really look look in there. There was no talking about the morality. Um,
Oh,
I
okay.
mm, yeah, maybe. Um, yeah, it's hard to remember the exact thing, which it was. My memory isn't that great, but I think it maybe was something about uh, yeah, the position of the teacher and the student. Yeah, that was the morality question.
Oh, you mean like I fuck my students? That kind of
Yeah,
thing, right?
yeah, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, actually, we had a person in the book came also raised the same concern.
Yeah, yeah, and that's only because there is, at least here in Finland, we have laws that are trying
Yeah, it's
Oh,
very
yeah,
common
yeah, that's a good.
phenomenon, right? Very
Yeah, yeah,
common
that's a good
thing.
point. Yeah,
to
yeah,
prevent
yeah.
prevent it
The
from
person,
happening. So
Take
so that
advantage.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that was like yeah, triggered, right? I trust Frank, and that's why I really wouldn't be that triggered, because I've seen Frank, like I've been watching the videos like uh, from 2019. At the same time, I had kind of like uh, I would think some kind of first
Mm.
stream entry or something like that. Uh, so I built the trust to Frank. So uh, I trust there is morality behind it, but some people may not have the trust to
Mm.
that, because there is the concern. Of course, there is some teacher who abuse their status and uh, get people like um, um, do crazy shit. There was this one guy in Finland actually who was like teaching, like it became like a cult, and one famous guitar soloist actually committed suicide because he was following the. He was
Mm.
a hardcore fan, so much he believed everything and was like so into the thing. So, but that can be like, of course, explained in many different ways. We will never know, but um, yeah, that it's the position of power, in a sense. If you're really like teaching something, and uh, but of course, everybody is capable of making their own decisions, but we need to consider the ethical background of when you do things. Like,
Mm.
can seem like okay, but there can be concerns.
Consequences.
Sorry.
You said there could be consequences, right?
concerns.
Concerns. Yeah. Well, let's just talk about it from a more, I guess, conventional level of like my position as a teacher. I don't think I've mm, like it's not like I had a relationship with a student during the boot camp. Yeah,
Mm,
it wasn't
yeah,
during the boot camp. So like during the boot camp, I actually try to keep everything very professional. In terms of like when I used to coach one-on-ones, I never got into like a sexual relationship with any of the
yeah,
females that I talked to.
yeah.
So,
And I
but
don't
then,
see you
yeah.
really having the
Mm.
teacher mentality. Like I don't
Yeah,
see it.
yeah, I don't. That's why, yeah. I
Mm,
don't really see myself as a teacher, but
yeah,
that shouldn't be a
mm.
way for me to like bypass and be like, oh, I can just
Of course,
not take
of course.
responsibility because I guess people still view me as some kind of voice of authority.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Mm.
But for me, there wasn't really a concern. But why I
But I
wanted
know
to,
like there are people who raise similar concerns, so I think it's important to address it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I guess I don't. One of the analogy that I use to try to explain this dynamic between me and my girlfriend right now is like if you see your fitness trainer and his client having a relationship after their like fitness package or
yeah,
client's
yeah,
mm, coach relationship is over,
yeah,
I don't think most
yeah.
people have a problem with it.
I
I
saw
don't
the
know if that's
comment.
a
I saw
fair.
the comment
Yeah, I don't
and
know if
I
it's a
felt it
fair analogy.
similar. Yeah, of course.
Mm.
Right. Makes totally sense, and that's why mm, we have to trust our the morality compass. We have it. We know what's right. Like it's built in our DNA. We know what's right. And if there is concerns, like the open dialogue, right? Like
Yeah,
here,
of course.
like if there would be like much defense or like, whatever, I don't know. I don't know.
Do you think there is an objective morality? You think morality is objective? Or
Oh yeah, like 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 killing somebody, like what Jesus wrote in the Ten Commands, like uh, basically don't kill is one of the commands, and usually it's like if there is no good intention, but it goes deep. It goes very deep. If you kill to eat some animal, of course you have to kill to eat, and cows also eat some ants. But something like something is our in DNA, I guess, about morality that which is like generally the same in all of us.
it could be. I think there could be a evolutionary components
Mm.
to like
Yeah, yeah. If
killing
it
because
if it
we need to
like
connect as a group, right? When our
yeah,
ancestors
we
usually.
born in island which has no like
Mm.
no others and in different islands, and when we meet first time like other people, the intention like first isn't killing. It's like curiosity or something like that, and it's not the first intention, I think.
We also have genetics to kill too. Like
Yeah.
our ancestors probably needed to like if you're talking about from a
Hmm.
biological or genetic perspective.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
and
think there's an objective morality, but there are consequences. I do think you need to take full ownership of your decisions.
hmm
I think when
yeah,
we talk about virtue in CC, is is looking at morality very contextually. Mm.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Could be, could be, but I trust this
Mm.
You just can't
But
fake it. Like all of the CC mentors and people
I think
there
I
are
think
like,
it's also okay to distrust us as well.
yeah,
mhm.
that's what
Yeah,
It's
I
yeah,
was
okay
gonna
to
say too.
doubt us and
yeah,
like have negative opinions as well.
Mm.
Like it's
Yeah,
you know, it's free to love and free to hate, right?
yeah,
yeah. That makes it like trustworthy because there is the possibility to say and communicate and concern. That makes it. Uh, but the price, when you don't have the price showing and you uh, give it to people like that, that's kind of like a blind spot which many people don't know the price. Like that can be, at least for me, doesn't like raise like openness if you don't um, like show it and talk
mm.
about it like openly.
Mm.
When uh,
Yeah,
when I
yeah,
ask it on the live stream, your answer was like, you can look it in the link. Like what? Like people are watching her who are like possibly wanting to join. Like why not say it like straight up?
You mean in another discussion you joined?
Yeah, yeah, like a couple days ago, when I asked Khan,
Oh, okay. Mm.
why is it a secret?
Oh, I'm not sure what you asked. What's the secret?
What is the secret?
Yeah.
The price.
Oh, the price? It's just good business objective because it's also one of the
Okay.
things could be confusing. This live stream gonna be, remains here. We not have no intention to take it down, and we
Mm-hmm.
do intend to raise our price,
Yeah.
in about a few months. So if we say the
Okay.
price now, they're gonna create confusion later on when they look at the video.
Mm.
This
Okay.
so
Okay.
just like good business practice to have a dynamic link that links you to understanding where's the price. You just
Okay.
click on CC profile, you see the price there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I see that. I see it. Yeah. Like generally, I think there is many people who are very interested in it, but uh, you have to really make some good money to make this happen. I say. For me, it doesn't make any sense to focus on making money. Like that's so beside what I'm doing at the moment. Like this is important, but not that important. Like for at least somebody who works like minimum wage and very little hours in week.
How long have you been working a minimum wage job?
I think it's been like I guess 5 years, and I've been studying all the way uh, in the side.
Oh, so you're a student right now?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Then you most likely students' life is not very compatible with this kind of training. I think
Uh,
I just texted with a student. Yeah, most likely that it requires some sort of, maturity after your career, maybe 7 years in, something like that. That
mhm.
after school you build kind of like a lot of experience, a lot of fun. Maybe some people even need to go through a couple of breakups, whether
Yeah,
that
yeah.
a
Mhm.
lot of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's too early. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but I think also like I'm similar age than you, and of course we can. I
But
can join.
I've
I
never
can.
worked a minimum wage job.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that's beside the point. Like we both are at the similar state of our like thing. Like I can wait to the 30s maybe when this, or maybe I'm never going to get the financial situation, but I don't really care. That's not the main concern for me. But I'm just saying that your way of setting the price, of course, you have to set the price, but you are now excluding many people who are very interested in this thing because of the price. We can't join, but yeah, what do you want? Do you want people who are rich but really don't have the uh, real potency and will to do this to join? Of course, there will be rich kids that are like, oh, let me just join there. But or maybe there is like enough people who have that kind of money in hand and uh, are still like fully locked in. Maybe you have enough like uh, people there, and then that's no problem. But I was in that thought that you don't have enough people at the moment.
Mm. Mm,
Like from the money perspective, like from the business thinking. I don't know if this is a wise like tactic.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
You have to be very into this to get to this course, and that's. But now you have like really get to this point where it's like uh, little people that are very interested in and making that much money. That's what I'm saying. That's why there is that little. Uh,
So
um,
help me understand your perspective, Alexi. So in your perspective, there are very little people who has, say, dispensable income of say more than $1,000, and are interested in Dharma. In
more
your
than
perspective, that's
$1,000. What do you mean, like thousand what dollars? Like
so like, help me understand your perspective. You're saying that there are very little people that have more than $1,000 and are interested in this.
oh shit, like so many people don't have the savings, right? You have to still work on the side to make this happen. You can't just quit your job, right?
Okay. So help me understand your perspective. So you are saying
Mm.
that in your worldview, there are very little people that have more than $1,000 in saving to be able to be invest in these kind of things. That's your worldview.
Who want to spend that money, like $1,000? Yeah. Uh,
So you're saying that there's not a lot of people like that.
um, maybe like at least in your audience, like
Okay, so
if you're like struggling with money and you don't have enough like people there, and if it's concerned, of course, if you want to have little people and uh, have more like this, but if you have many people with little bit lower price, then it can spread way more.
okay, yeah, sure. I don't disagree with that. I think that's a fair assessment of the situation. Um,
Make more money, like it's not the point, but you can still make more money. Yeah.
yeah. I know. That's why we have other programs down the line that the price point would be either free or very, very affordable, right? But
That's good. Yeah.
but the point here still stands is that in your perspective, there are very little people who got their life in the kind of order that has saving to be spent and interested in this.
Yeah, it's combination of both, I guess.
Right. So that's your perspective.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. Uh,
Is that a little bit or is that your perspective?
like of course there can be like it can't be that easily
It's a
definable.
very simple question. Like, see, do you think there are very little people who has
What
$1,000
is little
saving
people? Okay, what
and
is
care about
little
this?
people? In your audience, I think yeah.
Okay,
But
yeah,
little
that's your
people
perspective.
overall in the world, yeah, of course there's all over the world, yeah.
All
But
over the
how do
world, there are a little or there are a lot.
uh more, yeah. So many, of course.
Okay, yeah. So would you
Yeah.
want to be one of those?
Of course, I would want to be the one who has the money to join. I would
Okay, so
love to do that.
what are you doing to get there?
I'm not doing anything to get there because that's not my priority.
So what is your priority?
Yeah, to create something really helpful, like in the social field. In Finland, this this economy is going to shit, and people are like dying and getting the wrong treatment and uh, mental health things. I'm a therapist, and now I'm uh, studying the Bachelor of Social Services. Uh, yeah, because that's like real stuff, you know. I can get people feeling better and the economy of Finland going better. That's the money is no important.
I'm trying to connect with you and understand your perspective. So it's like, so do you have money problem?
Mm, no, like of course
So you don't have money problem.
I'm like I'm surviving, right? I make just enough that I can pay my rent, my car, my uh like everything.
So
But
yeah, because help me out a little bit, because I'm trying to understand your perspective. You're saying
mhm,
that you're saying that you have this priority to create, social welfare, helping Finland people, having this
yeah,
kind of orientation towards generate that kind of project.
yeah,
Okay, so I got that, and you're saying that that situation is difficult for X, Y, and Z reasons. Uh, on the other day, you're saying that okay, there's something worth investing here in CC.
yeah.
You want to join a
There is.
future bootcamp, but
Hmm.
now I'm just asking like, okay, so what's the priority, and are you moving towards a direction that can be able to afford this lifestyle? And you're saying no. So
Yes, of course I'm, but I want to focus on we are building like non-profit organization. I'm not sure if you in your country there is a type of thing, but it means basically we are doing job that can be funded through government, but we don't get the profit. We are doing
okay,
it for just to help, not to be the business man and getting money. So that's kind of like I'm going to in the field that there is no potential for making money because that's what I'm not making. But yeah, this can be helpful, and that's the big reason I would love to join is I know it's going to boost up my ability to help people. So it would be a good investment, but I'm not going to get out of my lane to pursue only money. Like that would be absolutely horrendous to because we are like doing this all day, every day, like building the organization at the moment. Like stop that and go to invest and make money. Like no. Like takes too much time. I'm not interested in that. Like I don't have the trauma of like uh making money and showing others like I got money. I got this like situation for me. That's not my concern.
mm,
Like I'm
yeah.
okay with this not making money, but I want to make something useful here.
Would you be okay if you don't have make enough money, you would never be able to join CC?
Uh, kind of like I would say, of course, I would prefer to have the money to join CC,
Yeah.
but
That requires change though, right? It
mm,
requires like a series of action to be taken to be able to get there.
maybe not because when I get the founding, of course, I pay my own. I get paid like normal salary, maybe something
Oh,
like
yeah.
uh 2,000 to 3,000 in a month.
Yeah,
So
that's good money. Yeah.
yeah, that then I can join. But that's the point. It will take time. I think like 4 years. I'm graduating in 3 years. So 5 years or 4 years, I don't know. But do I want to wait the 4 years? Of course I would come earlier if I could. But I need to now the situation is I need to wait the time I graduate and start my job.
Yeah. That's why I was saying that there requires this kind of timing because you was seeing that in these kind of sharing, uh, Adrian, Tyson's John, their journey of career and all this kind of navigation of building merit is something
Mhm.
like 10 plus, at least 10 plus years in some sort of profession. They build a lot
Yeah.
out of it, and they join these many different things to build family. And this is just the first step, right? Because it's like
Mhm.
once you get your organization with funding, the pressure and the demand for you would even more than right now. You
Yeah,
would have
of course.
responsibility for the government. You would have the people that you need to care for. You not only
Mhm.
pay yourself, you pay others, and all these things. So
Mhm.
yeah, it will be very, very challenging. But I guess my point is that the demand to be able to invest into something like this can't be forced on others. You have priorities, you have your timeline, you have the um, your own dream, your own ambition to be able to pursue. And that's I think like that's what Frank means by like for some of us right now, spirituality should not be a concern.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you just forget about it. Just go
And
and pursue your life.
I've been doing that for past 3 years. I haven't picked up any spiritual books
Yeah,
or
that could be like a
meditated.
responsible thing to do to make sure
Yeah.
that I know which
Mhm.
kind of phase that I'm in right now.
Of course, but wouldn't not be like beneficial if I still.
But we can't have it like both way, right? Like
All right,
because that's why we try and like hold to both thing like this. And
all
like
right,
so we just feel torn apart.
all right.
Like just if you see right now
I
that
think
you're
the
already
whole point
clear.
to like get the dharma to karma to match, like uh, be a functioning, like doing its thing.
Yeah. But like for you and based on what you were sharing, like I understand your perspective is that you have a clear priorities on what you want to make happen. You have your ambitions, you have your values, you know what
Yeah,
kind of situation you are working in, and you have a plan to graduate from
yeah.
uh, finish the training in therapy, and then you build the organization. So what, like, sure, like you can take a look at spirituality and all these Dharma talk to serve as some inspiration, but then it's very clear that your focus should go on the other side, and
Yeah.
clearly not a boot camp right now.
Yeah, that's a little bit. I know that's a good point. It's
So it's not about making the boot camp cheaper. It's like not about the boot camp. It's like you do you.
uh, yeah,
You
yeah.
see,
That's a
like
good
it's
good
yeah, it's
point.
like
Good point. I get
it
it.
could be like you just locked in, focus on working in your craft, forget
Hmm.
frying for 3 years, forget all these things, and then if the aspiration or this connection is genuine enough, you would come
Hmm.
out the other side. It's like, okay, now I'm in a position that I can do something about this.
Yeah,
So it's
but you.
not like that. That's what I was saying. Like I'm trying to connect with you, but I'm
Mm,
sure like there is all these different business tactics and how do we price
mhm.
a service that's workable. But like
Yeah.
you said, right now you don't care about the boot camp. So if we lower the price, you don't care about the boot camp. So then will be an
I
unsound
care about
strategy.
the boot camp. Of course, I care about the boot camp.
Not
Huh?
enough comparing to your other priorities, of course.
Yeah, yeah. If I have to choose between them, but it would be like something like, of course,
Yeah. So then
I care about the boot camp very much, but you care about your other uh, sister, but you care about your mother. If you, which way one you care more?
Yeah, but I'm saying that in order to go into this kind of trajectories of joining a boot camp, there needs to be a lot of things that has click into place. One of that is money, which you're saying right
Yes,
now you're
yes,
not focusing on
yes,
that, right?
yes,
So
yes.
because
I know.
why you don't focus on that, and you said because you already have a project that you can
Hmm.
withstand that right now you are not pursuing money. You're surviving, you're building your craft, you're
Yeah,
building your foundation,
yeah, yeah.
right? So the boot camp is not aligned in that way, and
Yeah,
and
it is
and
not. It is not.
it will
At
not be
least,
wise for us to even convince you to join the boot camp. It's clearly not aligned with what you want,
mm, yeah.
right? So even if you two were to join the boot camp, this conversation will still happen later on.
Can't you want something, some two things at the same time? Can like why can't I want this boot camp and also follow this? It's only I label them as important and important, but little bit less important. But both are important. Like,
Well, the simple question could be like because well we live in modern world and we place trust through currency and we put a certain contract, an agreement that the bootcamp costs X, Y, and Z, which right now you
mm,
say that, but I don't want that contract.
I don't want the prize.
Yeah, so but we clearly are not. So that's why I was asking, like, okay, how are you aligning with this? Is it
Yeah.
priority? Is the Dharma priorities, like breaking through and all these things? Because we have scholarship, right? We have scholarship and those kind of situations. But you're saying that right now what you want is to
Mhm.
work your project.
But do you even know? Yeah, yeah, I get it. But do you know? I consider because now I'm officially starting the studies in a couple of days.
Right.
I will get the loan. I can have the loan, which is like 0.05%.
Okay.
And if I get finish the studies in time, I get like fucking double the money back. It's free money, and it's
I will say this. If you can't afford the boot camp 3 times in a row, don't join.
okay.
That's
Okay.
a fair assessment because like you need
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of things
But
to
I can
have
have loan.
stability.
I can take. I was considering taking the loan to join this boot camp.
No, don't do it. That's not a good idea. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But why not? You can always pay the loan back, but you can't pay the time back, which is like 4 years. I have the money to join. I can
Because then
wait
we'll
4 years.
we'll we'll be right back into the conversation about merit, right? Which is you are not have enough merit to join yet. Don't rush the steps. It will bite you back
Oh,
later.
oh,
Because then
really?
we
You think I don't have enough merit to join?
yeah, because you don't have enough money.
Yeah, the merit. Okay. I misunderstand the word. I think merit was.
Merit is money in the modern time. That's part of it. It's also time,
Yeah.
it's also attention,
Okay.
it's also
I
interest.
can have the merit. I take the loan, then I have it. Man, what's the point? Like I was considering
Oh.
taking the loan, then I have the merit, right? Then I have everything. Why not do it?
I don't know, man. That's your life. You decide.
Yeah, yeah.
But on our side, we can decide to let you in or not let you in. And
Yeah,
I'm
of
saying
course.
that there is this condition that will say this is a bad idea. Will not just take your money. That will be irresponsible on our side to
Okay.
take your money
Yeah.
because of these reasons we're just saying. It will not do you well and will not
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
money. That's what I'm explaining to you,
Okay.
right? Because if we take your money, you go into this kind of sense of, you know, bleeding your heart out, taking risk in order to do this. Much rather, based on what you just share, you take that loan and you invest into your own studies and your own project so that
But
you actually
I can
create a
get the
lifestyle.
government. Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing. I'm very close to getting the government to fund this project. I
Yeah, so to do that, like just to do what you just said, and then get to the point, like you're saying about the next 3 to 5 years, you build enough stability, so then you can
Mm,
comfortably
yeah,
be able to afford this. It's not like
yeah.
like a life and death situation financially to
Of
join.
course not. Of course not. 4 years
Yes.
is short time. Yeah,
Yeah. So
I will be
do you
wiser.
understand where I'm coming from in regarding to like we're saying this is not a good idea?
Yeah, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah,
So you just do you, right? That's what we mean by coming as you are, and that's why like
yeah.
we as of right now structuring the bootcamp in a way that is will be fitted for people who benefit from it. We're not
Yes,
trying to just get people through some sort of meditation training that would further destabilize their life,
yes, yes.
right?
If it doesn't benefit me, I trust you and you know in your boot camp.
Yeah, it's
If
just
it
like you.
doesn't benefit me, why would I join? Like, of
Yeah,
course.
exactly.
I thought it would,
That's the
but
problem, like we were saying on day one, is a lot of people don't know what they're getting themselves into with these meditation and contemplation stuff. They thought it
yeah,
would solve some of their problems, but it doesn't. But so then I was saying that there's a lot of these arguments or these debates about people maybe not having, maybe they are unintentionally selling these things and they don't do the due diligence of consulting people of like, for you, not a good idea now.
yeah,
Right. And then we have to sit with that of like, damn, but I really want it. But like, oh, but I want the other thing better. Or like, wow, I have to make a decision. So
yeah.
then things become consequential. So now, if you were to do your project, you better do it well. Because
Mm,
you just say on a live stream publicly that this is what I'm about. Now you are held to your words. And this will be online Everybody would know this kind of situation that will be visited by many people.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So now there's the consequentiality to the path, right?
Hmm.
Now this is the point, I guess, is about people's hide behind um not saying you hide behind, but it's just people, because of the lack of open dialogue, may not have the clarity of what I'm about for this moment. For this moment, I'm Alexi, and I want to build a nonprofit organization in Finland to help so and so and so people by my
Yeah.
therapeutic training. That's what I'm about.
Yes.
But
And
now
and
the yeah,
join CC, of course, but
yeah,
yeah.
and the merit making process is then there's a certain timeline that you see that, okay, if that's happened, I'm going to get the loans from the government and I'm doing all these things. But you see in your own situation, okay, that means that there's going to be a lot of preparation, a lot of focus to be able to do that.
Mm.
Right. And then we say that that preparation most likely is not going to come from the bootcamp that we're selling. It's just going to come from your own effort to build a life that you can lead yourself out of this situation.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of get it, but kind of like um I'm going to take the mentality to like being in the boot camp. I want to take this seriously, of course.
Yeah.
And it has been like that for from 2019. That's been my main priority. Now in this 1 year I've got this new priority. But
Yeah.
I won't like just give up on it. I will, because I know meditation is beneficial, and these past days and when I watch like Frank or anything, I I know it's beneficial. I know it's
Yeah.
beneficial to get the nervous system working, and
Yeah. It's a big topic, Alexi. There's a lot of like this I think it just in the matters of there's still this transition about how should we put value and this remedy, because this is something I think about a lot, because when we were starting cohort 3, the price was just $150 per month,
yeah,
and actually my original price was $99 a month. I want to make it as cheap as possible. Before that it was free,
yeah,
right? So we want to make it as cheap as possible.
mm,
I guess we were playing the game of, trying to live and just survive on a very bare minimum, and then trying to, still gather and form a community. I think that was when joined, Adam joined, Tyson joined, Taylor joined, from those period when it was early days. But then we see that, okay, in order to actually building out infrastructure, we must require commitment from people who really lean in and train really hard. And it just happened to be the case that in modern time, we can say it's fucked up. We can say it's wrong. We can say that why people think like that. We can resist against it. But the collective culture has become that if you put your money where your mouth is, you pay attention. If
yeah,
you don't have money in the game, more often than not, you're not paying attention. That's why, like, even though like these things could be made free, putting it behind a paywall could be argued that it will increase the effectiveness. Will
yeah,
that
yeah.
be truly effective? I don't know. We still have to play it
Effective,
through.
effective for what? What's your intention with this?
Yeah, for commitment, for people who showed up and kind of have this intensity and all these things, right? The same way that,
But go deeper into the intention. What's the intention behind all of this? What's the main goal of you having CC?
hmm, I don't really know. I guess I'll find out over time.
Mm.
It first started with, just that dream. Like when I was 17, I was sharing that I have that explosive experience, and then I connect with Frank, and I feel very, very compelled. I was just finishing high school at the time, but I guess the idea to start CC started back then. That I don't want to work a normal job. I want to have meaning in my work. But then I realized that I don't have skills that could translate into providing value in the modern time. So I have to build those skills in the next 6 to 8 years before I come back and talk with Frank. So then we start CC. But in that time, to be honest, the intentionality of that would just follow my heart, just to follow my passion and follow what makes the most sense. There was a lot of uncertainty. I quit my job. I was offered quite a comfortable career in a startup, but I say no. Yeah. I have 6 months of expense to be able to do whatever I want. I saved up about $2,000. That's a lot of money in Vietnam. We are a third world country, so
Yeah,
$2,000 is a lot of money. And then
yeah,
and then very quickly after that, I realized that, okay, it's still about the money. I don't want to do it, but I must be able to solve this problem. It's an ongoing problem, right? So for
yeah.
the first year out of a career, just swimming in the open,
Hmm.
the only thing I could do really at the time was, help people become more productive because that was the background where I come from. I work in a tech company that build habit tracking app. So I use all the meditation. I did Vipassana at that time, all the thing that I know about self-inquiry, all the thing I know about project management. I packaged that into a service in order, and I also have a YouTube channel with 5,000 subscribers at the time. So some of the subscribers, because at that time I was building YouTube for 2 years. So
Yeah.
5,000 subscribers at that time translate into some original audience, clients, and the clients refer with each other. And all the way that I set out a goal at the beginning of the year was like, I want to make $10,000 a month. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I want that because I must find my way out of this kind of like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
lack of
Okay,
resource.
okay. But yeah, that's been the intention to make money, to get out of that, be more abundant. But what happens after that when you get your money?
Yeah, then I
You
become
get the,
depressed. Yeah, I become depressed for I achieved every goal that I have, but I experienced a loss of meaning, and it really made me reflect on a lot of things,
mm,
on how to move next. And it's just really like, damn, am I just gonna make more money like this, or is this? So then I reconnected to Frank at that time and experienced like a drop in income. Like, I make much less money working with Frank than was doing my coaching on the side. And then I even like, okay, all these Dharma, sure, but we're making it a thing that maybe are not very responsible to sell to people. So even at one point, after the anatta realization, one of the first impulse I have was to drop everything and just go work a government job. I even applied, wait for my interview, generate a CV, and this is coming from a place that I have want nothing to do with Vietnam. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna work for a government job and settle down and marry my girlfriend at the time, which is now my wife, and just know you live a normal life. That's what I generally thought. But
mm,
then I never got accepted to the government job, so we
mhm.
did CC some more. Yeah. So a lot of these things you can't plan for it.
Yeah. How old are you?
I'm 27.
27. Yeah. Yeah, but fucking that stupid question. Because I sidetracked because uh, yeah, the intention behind CC, like the intention changes, of course, like, and after that, so it's not about the money. Uh, the intention, what was the next intention? Why do anything? Why do that, what you did?
Well, it's still better than killing myself, I guess.
Yeah, of
I wouldn't
course.
commit suicide.
Yeah, of course. But like you building this CC, like what's the intention of this?
I don't know. It's I just that this is just who I am.
Yeah, but
That's one of the liberating thing I would say that from realization is you can do shit without reasons.
do you really want it to do it without reasons?
I mean, I have reasons, but I can do it without reasons, but I also have reasons.
Yeah, but I prefer doing it for a reason, right? Like
Sure. Yeah.
just fuck around. Like I've been like through that same thing with I went full on spiritual cunt mode, and I was in retreats and meditating, and having tattoos and making YouTube videos and having so much inspiration for it, for the shirts and for the path and spirituality, and it went totally like
You got scammed, bro.
kaput. Yes, and that's when I 3 years ago or something, and now I'm doing the government job and focusing in
Yeah.
the like
Yeah.
exactly what you like. The
I
other
think a
option for
lot
me
of
was to build something like that, CC, or I was making YouTube videos. Like I had only like 200 subscribers and talking about these things. But then I got like fumble with the suffering, and it all led to this place of like fucking hell, like this all. Why do we even meditate this shit? I want to like help people. Like, do I fucking help if I sit here and get
probably
the
not. Yeah.
jhanas and shit? Like,
Yeah. That's what
but
Frank was saying, like only half jokingly, that maybe for 80% of the people that's engaging with this content, you should stop spirituality and just focus on, building your life. Really.
but,
Like
but I
that's
really
real.
see because I've experienced like
Like just
many.
go to church, bro. Like just regular
Yeah,
spirituality, just religious stuff. Just
yeah,
just
yeah.
just
It can be
basic
good.
church stuff.
But why I'm still looking into this, why I'm still so taking the loan to get in CC, why that thought is in my mind, because I really see this as something special, and like the transmissions of like this whole group. When I come here, like I get like it's one big Kundalini awakening. Like I sit there and it's like this tube, like the energy and
We
uh,
should awaken the energy to make money.
yeah, yeah, but I like what Frank is doing, or
Frank is also caring about making money, bro. That's real. Just Frank just care about making money. Yeah.
yeah, it can be
That's
like that, but
no, it
but
is like that. Like
hey,
we're
Frank,
not
I
making a
can,
lot of money, but we need to make some money.
yeah, some money, of course, some money, but not money to eat, to money to sleep and survive and shit.
No, money also like, like invest in ourselves, going on trips. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And going to the movies, like buying something nice, Christmas present,
You don't
going.
need like more than 3,000 euros for it
It
a month.
depends where you live, bro. Like
Yeah.
the apartment here is very expensive.
Mhm.
If you have $3,000 in New York, I don't think you
But
can
I would
survive.
rather skip the fucking movie and help people, like for
Sure.
me
Yeah.
at least. Yeah,
I also like to watch movies. Yeah.
yeah. I
So it's
like
come
it.
down to
I
preference, right?
like helping people more. More. It's more important to help people than watch movies.
Well, movies can
That's
also
why.
help people.
Yeah, of course, of course. But I'm not making movies if I'm watching them.
Yeah. Like sometimes we need to focus on helping ourselves as well, right? You need to rest, you need to have
Yeah,
stability, you need to be able to be well, you need to be
yeah,
able to be
yeah.
healthy, take care of yourself in all these
And
cases.
one thing that I find like extremely, I'm a therapist, by the way. I'm very well feeling individual. No way. I suffer a lot, of course. But one thing
Yeah.
I really found helpful is to really put things in perfect. What is perfect? Perfect. Uh, Important for me is to help people. I do it because it's right. I do it because it's right thing to do. I don't watch movies when I can help people.
I think you are a very good Christian, Alexi.
Yeah, like uh, no, I am a Christian, but I
I
don't
mean,
really have like the spiritual or the religious background.
you like you have this sensibility, you want to take care of the ones who is in need, you
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
share your gift with the one that not having the best time right now, and you're even willing to
mhm.
do that to live a very frugal life. A lot of
Yes,
that
yes,
is, like a lot of the Christian saint-like kind of qualities. I
yeah,
don't know so much. Maybe other people here can comment because I've only beginning to explore a little bit of Christianity. But this sensibility of wanting to help and wanting to uplift others, right? It can drive you into motions, and like it can drive you to have missions, a sense of purpose, what you want to do with your life, and all these things.
hmm But it's so freeing to have that, like, it's so simple now. I don't have to think about what's the point of CC. Like, I don't have that question that you have. I'm not depressed because of I don't have that question.
Do I have that question?
I don't know. You couldn't answer it.
Yeah, because I didn't have the question.
Yeah, but
But you asked me that question.
when I ask you, you have no
That's
answer.
your question.
Yeah,
That's not my question. Let's be clear.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like,
What's
okay,
your
so
Frank? Do you want money? Is the main concern money, or what's the point of CC on your behalf, Frank?
can't hear you, Frank.
Oh, what's the point of doing CC?
Yeah.
I like doing it, but most likely just right now is just making money. This is my
Okay.
job. This is my job. Yeah.
My job. Yeah, it's our
I
job.
don't have any other job right now, and
Okay.
we're not getting paid that much.
Mhm.
We work like pretty much like 34 hours a day.
That's
We work
too
a
much
lot.
work.
I like doing it. I enjoy it, but
Mhm.
yeah.
But is it to
You
help people? No.
But helping people is a byproduct.
Yeah. Okay.
you make a really good auditor, Alexi. You just come in here and like question everything.
Yeah,
Auditor.
because I think differently than you, like very differently. That's why I get the questions. Like I
All right, man.
really.
We look forward to seeing you and your project in the next 3 years. You make a commitment
Yeah.
now. Can't go back from that. You make it very
Yeah.
clear what you're about.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, this somebody chat on YouTube. I can't afford 3cc, but I was really sure to join Cohort 8. The 3cc thing situation is, I guess, for people more in the student position. That was something that I texted to a student. So yeah, of course we have different risk tolerance, right? How much we can take risk. But for students, when there's not a stability in career yet, I would definitely recommend like just that for like safe,
Skipping it. Yeah.
yeah,
Skipping it.
just
No.
stability.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And this is part of the free coaching. Yeah, this is part of the free coaching. What I'm talent and skill. Any we're going a little bit over time. Any thoughts in concluding from others? Thank you, Alexi. Okay, let's see some chat. It is not only about Marcos say something about something to life, but also to enjoy life. Yeah. I guess it's not just about surviving, but also to enjoy. Hmm.
I see. Is it service for yourself or service for others? But of course, you have to uh, like your life to be in the position you can help more.
Yeah. It's a big topic relating to money. There's a lot of perspectives, and that's why it always can be controversial, right? One comment, it's okay to hoard loads of money and to do with it as one pleases, just like it's okay to not do that at all. Its relevance is tied to what one deems most important in life. We needn't agree on it. Yeah. So it's to each their own. We have talents and skills. Okay, just reading some YouTube chat. Some people are there to help ask difficult questions. Yeah, that's one of the things that even like yesterday we were doing an instructor debrief, me and Frank and other people. But yeah, we have to audit ourselves constantly. That's one of the protocol. Each day we do an audit on what just happened. Was that effective? What's the next move? Constantly. There's a lot of audit and these kind of dynamic in CC is yeah. You guys should see how we grill each other, not acolyte, not participant, but the team member grill each other in a whole nother level. Yeah. So today we were talking about the path to masculinity, how to come together as all these different parts of our being. Tomorrow, I believe that Nikki was just there just now, but tomorrow will be Nikki's time to present the aspect relating to desires. How do we work with these kind of like very sticky situations? And, that can relate to addictions. Some people have difficult times in, going beyond these kind of looping of desires, whatever that may come up and happen to be. And I think maybe on Friday, we can, I don't know whether we're going to still have 3 hours or not, or we can do a regular kind of live stream to conclude this thing. And that will pretty much be the last push for this current phase of promotion. Like Alexi was just talking about regarding to other options, we do have other courses that coming up. I don't think we would like to scale the bootcamp to the size of a lot of people. It's very meant to be a close-knit group, a very, very limited number. So the economic of that a lot of times requires us to, price it in a certain structure. We don't want to make it like ridiculously expensive that only for first world people that can afford. We want to make it so like people in Vietnam, people in India who have gone before that they can have some sort of a condition to be able to afford it. But in regarding to the other materials, I mean, this is the free public coaching week. We do intend to keep this thing maybe once in a quarter or something like that. Open the space, working on different conditions or things like that, and create kind of this bridge to the audience. But yeah, also it's true what Frank was pointing at. For a lot of us, this is a distraction. Like we just need to stop distracting ourselves from the thing we know we should be doing. So just do what you need to do and just follow your own words. So in that case, hopefully we are not just giving a fair expectation on what to look out for and in a bootcamp of CC, but even what to look out in a spiritual journey, right? Because maybe the entire paradigm of spiritual journey is not appropriate right now, given various reasons. So that's part of our really perspectives on how to see a lot of these things. And yeah, there's many more things that's coming along. We have other ideas, live streaming, but that's to be updated later. Thank you guys so much for having this conversation. Shout out to Adrian once again for presenting this wonderful dissertation. We'll give some of the links. Right now we have 3 more days to apply for people that, okay, given all these talks about these things and given like this, the sense of B for stability and building the base, or C for cutting through and jumping to the challenge mode of like really, really reflecting on your life and having that breakthrough intention. So if that still sounds like a good idea for you now, then we have 3 more days to get this going. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see each other around. Take care, guys.